Welcome to Preneurship Diaries. Today we have with us Pallavi Budigari. She graduated from Bangalore Institute of Technology in B.Arch. She simultaneously started off her career with a scholarship job in her third year of architecture. She draws both hands on knowledge as well as formal education from our alma mater. She went on to work on several larger projects as well that included public projects, cultural redevelopment, community housing, spatial and interior design, development of design in micro and macro environments. She is the principal designer of ME Design Studio since 2012 and co founder of We Projects. She's won accolades around the world with over six international awards, features, and citations. She believes design is the answer no matter your question. And today I'm so glad to have Pallavi with us. And I'm so excited to have a conversation about architecture, buildings, and many things more. So, Pallavi,
Great.
welcome to my show. And it's such an honor to have you here today. Welcome.
Thank, thank you. Thanks a lot for inviting, taking the time, and allowing me to share how it is, how the world is for us, and also to understand how we see the world through our eyes.
Absolutely, and I'm so excited to learn a lot of things from your perspective as well.
Okay.
So without further ado, let's get started. So,
Okay.
Pallavi, could you tell
Shoot.
us, what triggered your interest and to pursue a career in architecture? When did this all start?
I think it was always there in the background,
Mm-hmm.
but I just never knew that that particular phenomena I was pursuing is architecture. It
Right.
always happened in bits and pieces. I
Yes.
was very drawn to a lot of creatives.
Mm-hmm.
Architecture is probably the culmination of it. I think the earliest would probably be in some sort of history books in school. You know, when you read about these wars, when you learn about Chalukya Empire and Kiturani Chanama and and then in the end they talk about the social scenario. In the end, you have art and architecture. I
Yes.
think that's the first time I was present to something called architecture. But I never understood that those two lines can actually mean so much, like the way an entire dynasty is running, administered, the sort of intelligence they have, all of this inclusive of that. But it's just much later that that whole idea fulcrumed, and I actually wanted to be a sculptor because
Mm,
I thought that was very interesting, and I was very good with imagining things, shaping it, and so it's just that one thing led to the other. A lot of creatives kind of brought me to pursuing this, and so it also happened that I was led to it.
ah,
Even today, architecture is not a very general phenomena with most populace.
right.
People still associate engineering
Yeah.
to anything but architecture.
Yeah.
So even the way our degrees is written, we are not given a BE and then an extension of the course. It's a whole BArch.
Right.
So I just didn't know that this thing existed.
Mm,
In school, after when you finish your 10th, you are handed over a certain recital where you have different streams in which you can. This is a very thing of Aurobindo. Maybe you have got one too. They'll give you like
yes.
two leaflets and they'll say point and then where all you can go, science, and then there'll be five arrows and
True.
social studies and arts, and I don't recollect even architecture somewhere there, because not that the backward, but it's not there in the general listening. And then you're always surrounded with the more popular courses like computer science or mechanical engineering or automobile engineering. Or so I think a lot of awareness needs to come,
Mm.
because if I had known completely that there was a thing called architecture, if there were a lot of architects around me, it would be easier for me to choose. Because I really went from one step to another step to another step to another step till I finally reached. And
Right.
so, yeah, in bits and pieces, it was always there.
Okay.
And by the time I did make it, I was quite happy that I made it. And you know, I did take up an education in architecture. And it's only when I started doing the course I really understood that. it's a very nice course, and
Yes.
it's a very holistic developing. I It's very beautifully put together also. So I was happy with it. I really wouldn't pick any other way. Uh, if I did have a choice, I wouldn't. But yes, I think awareness must increase, what it is or why it is so important, because it is technically the brain of every society,
True. True.
and you should acknowledge it. And I mean, it's there, like when you go as tourism to Ajanta Ellora
Yeah.
or Harappa Mohenjo-daro, and it's all beautiful, but we always think sculptors made it, but no, there are also brains behind that. There's a whole
Yes.
planning, there's a system, there's engineering, there's
Right.
science, there's arts. So yeah, I mean, it is it's a great course, and anybody wants to take it up, it's very beautiful,
Yes.
and it's worth the time and effort. Yeah,
Yeah.
very gruesome and cruel, but yeah, all good things. No, you have to. There's some sort of endurance needed for it. Yeah,
Right, great, Pallavi. I mean, so
yeah,
glad, with all the creative pursuits, so glad that you, reached the thing that you wanted to do. So that's really
right.
wonderful. So
Yeah,
just probing a bit more into it. So how was your experience of studying architecture? I know you did give a glimpse about saying that, there are a whole lot of things, engineering, then there's construction, all of that.
right.
Could you also tell us about, what subjects interested you and what was it, the entire experience per
Uh,
se?
I think if I'm not wrong, in the entire duration of 5 years, you touch upon probably 75 to 80 different streams. I
Mm-hmm.
may be wrong. You have about five subjects every semester. That makes it 10 per year.
Right.
So something of that sort, in
Yeah.
which design and structures repeat, and then you are given a little bit, of course, see the whole, I think the ideology is that you need to know a little bit of everything, and once you know what you like, you can go forward and master it.
Mm.
It's more like foundation. For example, if I would kind of put it in a very lighter note, it's like when you learn science in high school, and then you move on in secondary, and then you move on to biology, chemistry,
Yeah.
physics,
Yeah.
and then you decide if you want to take up botany, zoology, or you want to take up, I don't know, chemical and some sort of, I don't know what is it that you have. When I just came out of architecture, we had something called, now what is very popularly called biocon,
Oh, yes.
or the pursuit
Biotechnology.
in biotechnology.
Yes.
And it gives you an aspect of how engineering marries biology, how you can engineer something and make life forms, or how you can alter something to extend your life. And so you get into these kind of streams. So
Mm.
architecture is a lot like that. There's a lot of electives given to you, there's a lot of aspects given to you, which you need it even when you start off as an architect. So
Mm.
you have something as basic as design, and then you have, it's basic but it's very important, without which nothing really works. Then you have supporting subjects like structures is the next important thing we have.
Mm-hmm.
Then you are also taught computation, mathematics, and there are several levels in which you have design structures. And the most important thing in the first year you're taught is first your ability to imagine and see things. That's very, very important.
Yeah.
So how you see something has been very, uh, I would say it's been attuned to see a certain way,
Yeah. Yeah.
which other people cannot see it or do not see it.
Mm-hmm.
In the beginning it annoys you, I mean, like when you drive out on the streets, you just, everything starts to look different. It is no more random things passing, you're actually able to see, like your
Yeah.
whole world changes. This really happens. This is something that happens to you in the first year itself.
Right.
you know it's quite challenging in the starting, and it's like the matrix. Okay, suddenly you start seeing things and there are lines everywhere, and you feel like the matrix actually, because
Right.
you see projections, perspectives, and 1 point, 2 point, 3 point. It is all around you, in
Yes.
fact, and it's there everywhere. So how you see something
Mm-hmm.
really changes in the first year.
Right.
And then it is supported by, most important is history. So when you see something, you start asking, oh, but was it always like that? I
Mm.
don't get it. I don't get it. Who made this? How did this happen? Why are we like this? When something changes, and something shifts in how you look at it, the
Right.
first thing that happens is your questioning starts. You begin to start asking questions. So history is very important. That is something that starts from the starting of the first year of architecture,
Mm.
history, and then you have climate, ecology, then geology, like how Earth is, what is it made
Yeah.
of. I think one of the really nice subjects I enjoyed was something that happened in the fourth year. We have something called electives.
Right.
Uh, so electives is a very nice. It's like they bring an absolutely non-architectural element, and they ask you to look at it through the perception of an architect.
Right. Right.
So you have several subjects you can pick. So what I picked was architectural journalism.
Mm.
It's
Okay.
really nice. It allows you to document something being an architect rather than, because journalism is usually associated with how the society works,
Right.
or uh, how people are around you,
Mm.
and not really with what inanimate things like buildings are about. And journalism is always about reporting what is happening, or
Yeah.
giving a perspective of what was, what is, or what's going to be, or maybe a sort of a fun side like a show buddy or something like that. But I somehow found this very intriguing. So I like architectural journalism,
All right. Mm-hmm.
and it's really nice. People should attempt it. It changes the way you start writing, and hence reading, and again thinking.
True.
So yeah, this is one of, but you only get this in like the third or the fourth year. So if I were to pick something in the earlier years, I think I like history. History of architecture is very
Right.
nice.
Right.
It gives you the foundation. It gives you a lot of really nice things you get to know. Like, I remember, for example, why are states in United States of America, why are borders all straight?
Ah.
You know,
Okay.
you should read it.
Right.
There's a whole thing written about how, like, if you see Indian borders,
Mm-hmm.
they're not straight lines.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They're very organic because it was evaluated. Every village and every person was evaluated. But if you see the history of how it was formed, it was cut like a cake. I mean,
Yeah.
not to hurt anybody's sentiments who will be watching, your global viewers, but
Right.
as a, you always get intrigued, why are they straight lines? Is it like states were formed before people came? No, it's that's just, so you learn a lot of things, then you understand what happened in the minds of the people uh, who were probably doing administration at that time.
Right.
Like,
Right.
I have more respect for people who were responsible for making our borders,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
they were very sort of, each person makes a population, right? It's a
Right.
number is,
Right.
so probably they were sensitive. I mean, I don't know what the
Mm.
story is, but from what the maps look like, it looks like a lot of thought was put to why those funny lines come like that, like that, like that. So probably the whole territory was evaluated, and then the maps were formed, or they were organically conquered, and
Right.
then they came together. We have a very large history, right? So first you
Yes.
have the Brits, of course, was in the end, but then you have a lot of truces, a lot of alliances, and a lot of things like that. So
Mm.
history is also something I think it's really nice. Even if you're not an architect,
Yeah.
one should try and make an effort to understand, read, and I mean, if it is something, because a lot of people like traveling, so
Me
you
too.
know,
Me too.
yeah. So when you travel someplace and you be like, why is this better than my country, or why is it not so good like my hometown, or they make an effort to know why, and which again is very much intertwined with culture.
Yes. True.
The growth of human civilization. And so it's great. So these two are very intriguing, interesting subjects.
Mm-hmm.
And what they teach us in history is how these things translate into monuments, buildings. So when you
Right.
see a building, it talks about what is the thought process of that society in which the
Ah.
building was built in.
Right.
Like, if you see Taj Mahal, you understand that the people who lived at that time were into ornamentation.
Yeah.
You will again see the same attitude in the fabric that is, there in those times, the
Yes.
kind of celebrations they have. the kind of treaties they have, how complex it was. And
Right.
so, in a way, it gives you insight
Mm,
into the kind of people who made the society at that time.
yes.
Everything fades, buildings don't fade. So
Yeah.
they always are like visual storytelling of what it is. So we are taught those aspects.
Right.
So why something is a certain way, when you have a certain architectural language, where it's coming from, what sort of artisans did it, why did they do the way
Yeah.
they did it, and how from Roman to Greek they're just so close, but yet they're yet so different. And the myth of the Greek gods, and so
Right.
yeah, I mean, next time when you watch Hercules, you will look at it in a very different
I
way. And
know.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
So
yes.
yeah,
I mean,
yes.
that's wonderfully said, Pallavi. I mean, so beautiful. I mean, it's like a movie for me. Like, okay, okay, there is a particular building. Like, as you were mentioning, like, okay, you can get to know about the culture, the fabric, the thought process of the people out there. I mean, I can so imagine, like, oh my God, there's so much. It's like reading a book, isn't it? I mean, that's how you feel,
Yeah, I
right?
mean, yeah, but that's what I said. It alters the way you look at something. When you look at a
Yes.
building, like now, of course, I'm so much folds into it. I can even imagine how what people think when they made it. You can, like, just like how when the way we walk, we talk, our body language in a way explains our personality,
Right.
our choices explain. And
Yes.
when you choose something, when you choose a certain building, when you choose to express in a certain way, when you want to choose to build in a certain way, you may go away, but your
Right.
choices always reflect, they show. So it's nice. That's what makes history. I mean, then you go back, you read about it, you learn something.
Yes.
And sometimes, like the rope is cut, it's lost. But when you look at it, you can reconnect back to it. And then, like, sometimes maybe the imparting of those things has not gone all the way down, and some loose ends are there. So this allows you to connect back to it and understand how originally how those things came about. And that's why you see, like, nowadays people are connecting back to ancient forms of,
Right.
whether it's construction or whether it's just conservation. And also it helps us to break a lot of myths, a lot of hoax,
Yeah.
which maybe would have. So it brings logic into things, it brings perspective, and it allows you to choose better
Right.
and be more informed into how you want to make your choices. So I really like these two subjects of all the ones which I was intrigued in.
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, amazing. I mean, thanks for sharing, about the subjects and what
right.
goes into learning architecture. Really wonderful. There's one aspect which I just want to touch upon when you're talking about, the basic foundation to architecture. Um, and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, because the elements play a I think the five major elements, of course, earth, space, air, water, and fire. I think these are the base for anything, right? I mean, you said, it's construction. You got to know about the materials that you're putting in onto a building. Or, of course, the
Right.
water. I mean, how much quantity of water should be mixed with the particular material.
True,
And of
true,
course, the space. I mean, how much space you're taking into consideration, or of course, the elements of the wind. I mean, everything.
true,
I mean,
true.
aren't these the I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure all of these aspects are taught, and yeah, I mean, of course, they are an important part, isn't it? I mean, for any building per se.
I mean, it's a lot like the sea and the Voyager.
Yeah,
So all you know is that there is this humongous sea out there,
yeah,
and your job is to navigate regardless. You don't have a course manual.
true.
All you know is maybe stuff like buoyancy, water, salt, fish, and they're all very important. But no amount of knowledge is enough for you to say, this next voyage I'm just going to come back, triumph. You don't have that level of, because these are all the elements you said are naturally occurring elements.
Yeah,
See, I like to say this, that when I get any project, uh, uh, it's like it's like a thumbprint. the chances of the same project
Yes.
coming at the same time, at the same geolocation, with the same budget, with the same wind well, it's just most likely, or I would confidently say it's impossible. Unless I'm going to go back, travel in time and come. And even then, it's not possible because if I went back, traveled in time, and if I came, I would have some additional knowledge which I didn't have before.
Right.
So that thing would never happen again,
Yeah.
you know. So what you are equipped really to do when you are studying architecture is to how to choose wisely,
Yeah.
is
Yes.
how you choose better. What are the things, first of all, to make an informed choice?
Right.
We always say research is important, but how do you know where to look?
Yeah. Mm.
Do you know, if you just had information, Google would be the most intelligent person on this planet. Information doesn't always make you wise. How
Mm.
you choose that information, like what you need, what you do not need. And when you talk about five elements, there are a lot of elements that you can willingly make to contribute for a building,
Right.
and that which you can choose that needn't have to be contributing for the building. That choice you make is what is a
Right.
visionary or what is a designer. It's how you choose to make something, you
Yes.
know. Like we always say that there's this thing about making an avenue.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Avenue is nothing but like a road that leads to somewhere,
Right.
you know. It's just a simple road, but when you design, it's probably like the most important line. Okay, because
Right.
the minute you make the avenue, what comes next are the buses, are the tram, are the roads, are the shops
Yeah.
around it, and then the establishments, then the avenue of trees, then you have the sewer lines. So it's just two lines on paper, okay? But
Yes.
you need like a flow chart,
Yeah.
you need an algorithm, you need R&D, you need to understand the social structure of the people just to draw those two lines, you know. Or people say, no, no, just give them what they wanted, but that's not how it works.
Yeah.
That's not how it should work, you
Mm.
know. Like if you felt sick and if you went to a doctor and, you know, if the doctor says, you know what, I have two drugs for you, you can like, you know, pick what you like. Yeah, that is not nice, right?
Yeah.
So he's supposed to give you one drug. If he gives you two drugs, you should be worried.
Right.
He should tell you, look, this is the way you're going to survive,
Yeah.
and do this, you know, regimentally, and you're going to live. So he of course comes with a certain knowledge,
Yes.
understanding. Like you will dictate a plethora of things which are your suffering, and he weeds out into what are those things which actually you're suffering, you know.
Correct.
So you need
Correct.
to filter out, I wouldn't say it's noise, but they're all
Mm-hmm.
concerns.
Mm-hmm.
But there is always a hierarchy,
Yeah.
right? If I
Mm.
have somebody who's going to say, I want to build this beautiful thing in this much money, and if he comes with a photograph of Leela Palace, I
Yeah.
should break the ice to him and say,
Yeah.
you know what, you're going to get something like this, not like that, you know.
True.
So when we talk about responding to elements around us, these are of course elements to make something happen,
Yes.
right? But then we have the most important thing is for whom,
Mm.
right? So then the context of what you can actually make the context of what you're making
Right.
or creating, you know, like who is it for,
Mm.
what do they do, what are
Yeah.
they going to do with it, how long are they going to keep it, will they gain something from it, will
Mm.
they lose anything with it, is this the right thing to do, have they made the right choice?
Yeah.
If they haven't, I would say I want to tell them, but sometimes people will say, should I tell them about it or do I tell them about it? That's also a choice you need to make.
Right.
But yes, I think as an architect, you are your client's advocate, you are his best advisor, like a wazir,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it. But yes, to make a building, only these five elements are important for you to gather, put together.
Yes.
But I more so look at it like I would want this particular project to benefit him also. So
Right.
I kind of get into it. And when I practice, I always say you should have a sensitive practice and a sensible one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So try and look at all aspects. There will be more aspects as and when you investigate more and you practice more, you will start becoming more sensitive to things which are beyond what you see, look, and do. And like sometimes you become an analyst also.
Yeah. Mm.
If you know your client very well, you're going to be like, you can't make this much of money in 5 years, believe me. Don't get into it. Of course,
Yeah.
when he's your good friend, you will say that. Look, you think, but I don't think.
Right.
I think you should face it out and build a little now, and then we'll surely look at it. And
Mm.
you know, you can always. So, how much you want to be involved, or how you want to. So, all of that big large books you read, you can actually micro use it when you're interacting with one person, or a single building, or
Mm.
a lot of things. Like sometimes, I know it's not our business, but we also sometimes ask, first of all, do you have sanitation and electricity? And and maybe this is not the right time to actually do the project at all. If you don't even have
Yeah.
water, what do you? I mean, because we accept that people need homes whether they want infrastructure or not, and somehow we are like this train that's going like me first, you first,
Uh-huh.
and somehow our populace is expanding and infrastructure is not reaching them on time. And
Yes.
so we do become, in a way, you have to play like an advisor,
Mm.
give them the best of advice, and of course they choose what they want. But we must dispense what we think is right, whether it's wind, whether it is air, velocity. We do soil test to investigate how the soil is.
Right.
Geolocation is very important to
Mm.
find out whether this building will, withstand. If you're doing a skyscraper, you must take 15 years, and the next 15, 20 years of projections, because there's a certain lifetime of a building.
Yes.
SOM, strength of materials, what materials are available, what is not. And all this is very important. And even to pick what material you want to use, I
Mm.
don't think you should blindly use something because it's popular and
Right.
everybody is using it.
Mm.
Like we used to have curtain glazing with fiber reinforced concrete. And so at some point, you must ask yourself, do you want to use fiber reinforced concrete? Of course,
Mm.
everybody's choice is different, but I think nowadays people are very conscious about their carbon footprint.
Yes.
What are they leaving behind after they
Mm.
are gone?
Mm.
So one part of something which is eco-friendly is how it's made.
Yeah.
But now our concern is, what are we leaving back after it's made?
Mm.
You know, of course, we have to survive. So some trees will be chopped, some animals will be killed.
Mm.
And now then, what are you doing about it when you're going to go away? Are you going to leave a plethora of mess? So we are encouraging materials that make the loop, that
Yeah.
try and find a way back. So a large part of architecture now we are looking at is, what is the afterlife of the object?
True.
you know because after 15, 20 years, when you're going to demolish the building, you are it's natural, it's human.
Yeah.
Beautiful buildings which you build can be pulled down, not because they don't like you, or
Mm.
just it's he's the client,
Right.
he can want to pull it down. So uh, part of being responsible is how to allow them to find the way back,
Mm.
so you're not leaving behind a lot of footprint behind you, and it allows you to make more. A lot of material suggestions also come from there. So it's
Mm.
like a marry of budget to material to availability
Right.
versus the time. So it's a very complex
Yeah.
sort of that matrix with, yeah.
Yes.
So yes, to make things real is in the right integrity is challenging. You can make things real, and I mean, if I like, sometimes they ask us to do like I don't know, an event setup or something. So the way you design it is very different. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't want something to last for 100 years. No, I don't want it.
Yeah.
You know, but at the same time, I don't want him to throw away what is done. And so
Right.
we opt for prototypes that you can reuse.
Mm.
So when we you must have read probably about the biennales, or these exhibits around the world, or expos that we do here.
Right.
They're all done with prototypes.
Yes.
So
Yes.
we get standard sizes, then we start being creative with that. How do you use that in an optimum way? so
Mm.
it can easily be dismantled and it can be returned to where it is, and
Correct.
what objects you will select. So when you pull it out, it doesn't look like a pile of garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think like our world is inching further towards what are we leaving behind when we are gone, because
Yes.
we are of course not going to be there, you know
True.
to kind of pay maintenance charges for it, or you're not, when you're long gone, you're not earning for it to
Right.
fund it. So this is a very important aspect about what you leave behind. That's why most of our when any designer, any sensible designer would recommend materials,
Right.
like brick is something which will go back into earth.
Yeah. Yeah.
As much as possible, try and use materials where you can go back, where it can join back nature, join
Hmm.
back the cycle, because we only have that much square feet of the planet available, and you have to make room for everybody
Right.
at some given point of time.
Yes.
So yeah, because a lot of things don't regenerate as fast as much as how fast we are born and we die. I think the smallest cycle is the human cycle,
Right.
like a ballpark of, I don't know, expectancy of 1800 years. Carbon dating takes a far longer time, and
Yeah.
we are using resources which have been produced like a long time ago, including light, which
Right.
traveled 3 billion thousand kilometers, or
Yeah.
300 and something. So
Yes.
yes, so people are getting aware.
Right.
They are understanding the elements that contribute into their buildings,
True.
and sometimes it may increase your budget, but uh, it helps you become green. And in
Yes.
a way, you would have heard of green buildings. You are getting green certification. A
Right.
lot of corporates are being encouraged to imbibe into that, because they occupy larger surfaces of building masses and volume indexes. So they're being educated to imbibe to green buildings because
Right.
they have a longer life.
Yes. Yes.
The
Yeah.
amount of resources they use is far less. So yeah, slowly that envelope of the elements you said, right, it's gonna keep increasing. So everything will be inclusive, then
Right.
your actions will be more responsible, so none
Yes.
of other organisms is going to be endangered.
True.
A lot of our previous actions has made many organisms disappear, so we should avoid that. So yeah,
Yes.
correct.
Great. I mean, thank you for that. I mean, of course, it's an interplay of all these five elements, and of course, as you mentioned clearly, that it's. I think an architect comes into picture where he sees a holistic approach as to how to go about it,
True.
why a person
Yeah.
needs this, or how they're going to use it, all of that. So I think that's where the acumen of an architect comes into play. It's so beautifully explained, and of course. Yes, I mean, I do agree that it's more about sustainable and conscious living. I think that has come to the fore, and we are getting aware about things and what we use, what we are leaving behind, and all of that. I think it's quite a big topic to pursue altogether.
Yes,
But
it is. I mean,
yeah,
like, I don't know. There are two streams of thinking. Like, the easiest way, of course, is to say use less.
mm,
You know,
mm-hmm.
but it doesn't always work in all types of contexts.
Right.
Like, if you're running an organization where you have 300 people, you are going to use gallons of water.
Yes.
How less can you use? I would
Right.
see it's more intelligent to devise a system
Hmm.
where people can. One should not feel guilty about living,
True. Yeah.
so you shouldn't, like, you should make smarter choices
Yes.
and live a lifestyle where you accommodate everybody else. And I'm not just talking about other human beings.
Yeah.
you know your
Yeah.
life should accommodate all kinds of life forms. At the same time, you
Absolutely.
should not feel guilty about making certain choices,
Right.
which just means that we must be more intelligent
Yeah.
and have smarter systems, and our thinking must change, and it must be inclusive.
Yes. Yes.
And then your mind will start running and you'll start working about devising systems. And yeah, a lot of people, there's a lot of judgmental approach and there's a lot of guilt enveloping, like, why do you need uh you know uh, I mean, I'm not saying you should waste stuff,
Right.
but yeah, somewhere some sort of balance must be there. But
True.
yes, in our mind we must inculcate a holistic approach of all life forms.
Yes.
And that you know what they say about the pyramid, right?
Mm-hmm.
As
Yeah.
much as you feel important because you're on the top, you're the first person who can be dispensed.
Yeah.
You don't support anything really. You're not much of use when you're on the top of the pyramid.
True.
So
Yes.
before the people under you overthrow you, you should make that like sort of a, you should make it a sphere or something.
I
So
know.
it's
An inclusive
well balanced.
one. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, yeah. And not like a pyramid. And yeah,
True. True.
you know, the
Lovely.
czar always gets overthrown. So
I know.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's just like an inclusive way of looking at something.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And I just hope we all, get onto that mindset and inclusive and of course, having a sustainable way of living. So yes.
true, true. Yeah.
All right. So super. So yeah, okay, let's get to your venture, which you started
Okay.
making Utopia Design Studio.
Okay.
So when did this idea come to you? Of course, you had your share of experience in education in architecture. So when did this thought come? Okay, maybe I should start a venture of my own. You know, when did it start? And could you tell us
Uh,
about ME Design Studio?
I think it's very difficult. Uh, I can only say from my point of view,
Yes.
it's very different from other. I mean, if I were an accountant, maybe I would have easily taken up a job as soon as I finished my accounting. I don't remember who said this, but when you do an ugly building, I don't know if it was uh, Frank Lloyd Wright who said it. I'm not one of the master architects said this, but
Right.
you can't do anything, but you can just grow vineyards on it. Somebody once said this, like because it stays forever,
Yeah.
So you must. I'm not saying it's a rule. I'm just saying, so this has always been at the back of my head, like if you want to do something, you should know what you're doing. You have to be responsible. And the fact that it's not a linear profession.
Yeah.
You don't go from A to B to C to D,
True.
you know. So there's a lot of instinct, and you must have like a lot of confidence and a lot of
Mm.
faith, and you should know your stuff very well uh,
Yes.
to be able to stand on your opinion, and you can't always relate or you can't always refer back to what people say, because as many people so many opinions,
Yeah.
right? Everybody has an opinion. So if you are going to take up a position where you're going to lead somebody,
Mm.
you can't rely on somebody's opinion about how to lead something.
Right.
Regardless of an organization, I'm talking about the product, what you're doing.
Mm.
Like you are taking on this task when you're going to do a building, how much ever education you have, you are not ready enough to say 100% what I take up is going to be like a grand success. There's always
True.
chance,
True.
right? There's always a reality.
Mm.
Say rubber meets the road. Even in an automobile ad, they say factory 18 kilometers, factory tested. They don't know on road what's going to happen.
Yes.
So the phrase we say when rubber meets the road, you
Mm.
know. So as much as I did feel confident in my academic environment, I did want to work for some time.
Right.
So I wanted to be completely sure because, like I said, many people will say, oh, this is nice, just great. And some people will say it's not.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying people who are giving you negative comments. See, we are now in the internet world. We always say hate comments, don't encourage them, don't feed
Mm.
into them, don't. But one's well-being is one aspect. The
Right.
other is to be critical about what is it that you're doing,
Yep.
right? What it is that you're giving, who
True.
you are. When it's one-on-one, it's easy because you have to pick yourself up, you have to give that pep talk to yourself.
Yeah.
But when you're taking like when somebody is funding a project, when they're running a lot of money
Mm.
onto your project, and you're going to be in charge, there's a lot of responsibility you're shouldering.
Yes.
So, first and very important thing, you need to have a very clear opinion of your own self, your work, and it should be based on reality.
Mm.
It should not be based on see tell who tell sort of a thing.
Right.
Like you shouldn't have to say no, but those people think I'm good, so I
Uh-huh.
don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like your entitlement must not come from somebody else's opinion. You should
Mm.
feel entitled on your own. You should know equally what you're good at and equally what you're not.
Right.
And the things you're not, you're going to work on them.
Yeah.
But you should know what you're good at, and you should have a very level headed mind. You should have your head on your shoulders, not like up in the sky or, below your feet. Or
Yeah.
so it takes a lot of conditioning to arrive at that. That was how I conceptualized how I would want to go forward,
Right.
because I really didn't have the time to wait or for somebody's opinion to be cooked,
Yeah.
you know. And opinions change, they have shelf life. People think something today, they will think something tomorrow. I
Right.
don't think your choices must be based on a so-called opinion. You should
Mm.
value it.
Mm-hmm.
If you feel, you should be wise, you should be integrate. I feel like you should honestly tell yourself
Right.
what's the effort you've put. So this is more like a habit.
Mm-hmm.
You should kind of have this attitude at each and every aspect, so that way you will not be, you're not going to be that tree that frays if you get northeastern wind or southeastern wind. You know where you're headed, you know where
Yeah.
you're going.
Yeah.
So to arrive at that, I had to work on a lot of projects for me to get that confidence,
True.
that so I picked certain architects I looked up at. So I worked with them for some time. So
Hmm.
from this college you have, right, which is a controlled environment, I moved into a semi-controlled environment.
Right. Right.
Semi-controlled environment is when you're assured you're getting paid well, and people, you're in an environment where they like your work, otherwise they wouldn't hire you, right?
Right.
So it's a safe environment.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, you have this sort of your own gang who's backing you up, and then you're okay. So when you come out of that, you are a single entity on your own,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then you have the whole world not on one side, they're on all sides.
Yeah.
Right? You don't have a gang anymore, you don't have a coup, or you don't have this. But that's a sign of growth.
Right.
The single eagle that flies on in the sky, and
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
sometimes you have to take off alone. It's really a lot like that. Maybe you don't know to fly yet,
Mm.
but somewhere in your mind, in the future, you know to fly, and you will be able to. You just need to figure out how, and you just probably sometimes have one or two ways, and you
Right.
just keep kind of, you do it, you help, is like an athlete, uh,
Right.
you have to put in so many hours.
Yeah.
Or like a pilot, you have to clock so many hours for you to be able to say, I can fly.
Mm.
No amount of reading or a pep talk, you just have to clock so many hours. That's the only way.
Yes.
Any sort of, see, your mind is also a muscle.
Yeah. Yeah.
It must be used that much for it to start sparking. And because we are not talking about a one-on idea that you will get if you're in an emotional pep talk with a counselor or a shrink, and you come out and you're like, great, I have this idea. You have to constantly do it all the time,
True. Yeah.
right? So you must live that life.
Yeah.
So you must use that muscle. Your brain must be used enough. So all the oiling is done well, and you're able to constantly churn. So there's a lot of thinking, a lot of projects, and I would suggest that people go through that. I'm not
Right.
saying when you pass out of architecture, you're not ready. I'm not saying that. But uh, see, at the end of the day, as an architect, you're a service oriented professional.
Yeah.
There's a lot of difference between somebody who runs a business and somebody
True.
who's in service.
True.
When you run a business, you your only goal is that you make money.
Yeah.
When you run a service, your only goal is that your client makes money, and your client is benefited, and
Yes.
everything must be in his good.
True.
And said and done, you will also have your own good. That is sort of a
Yeah.
it's thrown into the cycle of life, or cycle of the profession. But so
Right.
it's a very different class. So when you're in service, there are many things you cannot compromise, like ethics.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't compromise. That's the premise of your whole profession.
True.
um, I remember I had this one teacher. He was a teacher by profession,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
he always told me that you will realize at some point, when you're really fed up with working and you just go to some budgie stall and then you'll be like, so dude, how's business? And first class, how much you made? I made 50 grand today. And you're like, shit. You may
Yeah.
have that sort of that the guy is making more money than you, but
Yeah.
that's the premise of it.
Right.
That's your sacred geometry in which you're operating.
Mm,
That's the geometry. You have to make it in that geometry,
right.
right? So if you want to work outside the geometry, you have a lot of, you can be budgie seller, you can be like, I'm not saying they're bad. I mean,
Of
MTR,
course.
they're great
Yeah.
people, right?
Yeah.
But it's a different game, right?
Yeah.
So what happens, why I'm talking about this is, when you pass out and when you immediately try to practice, a lot
Mm,
of things get compromised there because you're busy trying to make it. So we were talking about ethics, okay? Because there are some ground rules, and based on that, you are given something called a license or a certification, which every profession, like a doctor or an engineer, they all are licensed people.
true.
And there's a certain decorum or there's certain ethical value you need to maintain,
Mm-hmm.
based on which you are awarded or your education has some sort of a value. We have a subject in our, I think, ninth semester called PP, professional practice,
Ah, okay.
where you are in a way being told what you can and cannot do,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and how sometimes you will have situations where you can you may feel like, I just don't want to be so ethical anymore. And so when you work for some time with someone or for someone or in a conditioned environment, you should work there until these things become a habit for you. Like, even in some adversity, you will not be tempted to choose otherwise.
Right. Yeah.
If you just compromise a little bit of ethics, like a building can fall down,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
you know. So, of course, we know it, nothing of it, architect is responsible. But you know what we say, that, somebody who is a silent spectator is also, in a way, a contributor.
Mm,
He's not the one who shoved the knife, but
yeah.
he saw it and he kept quiet. So, integrity is very important. I
Yes.
mean, so things like this, small things like this, and a lot of things like this. So it's good to have practiced in a conditioned, controlled environment,
Right.
until so that that becomes a habit for you.
Yeah.
And so you don't always evaluate your actions based on the monetary component of it. Like, if you have a high paying client, you work more for him.
Yeah. Ah.
And if you have a low value project, you feel this is more than enough for him. And uh,
Exactly.
yeah, so it should just come very sort of automatically for you. It should just be
Mm,
like body language. So yes, I encourage people to work in that conditioned, safe environment. So when you do come out, sometimes you have pressing bills, or you may need to do something to just maneuver into it, because once you take that, you just cannot come back. And the consciousness road is very difficult. So quality of your practice is very important.
right.
And of course, that was not why I worked for a very long time
Mm-hmm.
where
Mm-hmm.
I did work. It was more because I just found, I just find opinions very funny,
Okay.
because they change all the time and they're not sure what they're talking, and you can't wrap around it anymore. And then I was
Right.
like, no, I'm just going to be clear what I want. I will be clear what I say. So it takes time to find yourself, find your voice.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
So I kept working with people,
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
I understand what is important for them that makes their work like that. So when I appreciated somebody's work, I made an effort to work with them,
True.
to understand what it takes in that person to be, so the product looks like that.
Yeah.
It didn't come out of thin air, right? It came out of a manifestation of somebody's
Exactly.
thought process and choices. And then when the list extinguished of the people I appreciated to work with, I thought,
Ah.
and also I sort of wanted to. uh, look at new concepts,
Right.
which was not tried before, or investigate into doing things in a different way. And there, like if there is an established organization, they like to do the formula that has
Yeah.
worked well,
Yeah.
and they don't want to. They may not be so young to experiment. The good thing about having a young practice is you can try many things. You
Yeah.
don't have to have this baggage of you have done so much, so you cannot and when I say experiment, I'm not saying things like I'm going to make a building hanging, or
Yeah.
not like existential experiment,
Right.
but more in terms of spatial use, and how light works, or how our see our societies are getting very dense,
True.
you know
Yes.
and they're getting very dense vertical also. So how are you going to do justice about bringing the elements into the space,
Yeah.
how effective you can do something, or how tight you can? So there are many aspects. Constant work keeps happening,
Mm.
and
Mm.
how to make something economical, or how to make something swift and better,
Yeah.
because the whole structure of the practice is so complex. Like, for example, we will have at least sometimes nearly 15 to 16 vendors in one project. Vendors means key important people who are
Right.
holding a certain aspect of the project.
True.
I'm not talking about engineers who can be dispensed, or supervisors, not
Right.
even workers. I'm
Right.
talking about key important people like automation. That
Mm.
guy is actually responsible for that whole aspect. You
Right.
know,
Right.
and the complexity arises because sometimes you can't continue the same team to another project.
Mm.
So when we investigate, we always see how do we find out when the team comes together, so we can preempt and see the issues that will arise, so
Right.
we can formulate solutions when we begin with.
Yeah.
So this of course, this is something we do for every project.
Mm-hmm.
What are
Mm-hmm.
the systems? I don't believe in like dispensing somebody because they're not accommodative.
Yeah.
So if the guy does good work, I think he should be accommodated, and we should make structure better systems so he can be accommodated. I
Mm.
don't like that I have a structure and you don't fit in, so we'll just get someone who fits in. No, not really, because
Okay.
uh, I mean, the focus is on the product. If the
True.
guy has skill and if he's able to deliver, we should make a better structure. So these are all exciting things.
Yeah.
They're nice things. And if you get and form a system, if you do form a system, like now, it will allow you to work remotely,
True.
and it makes you more efficient.
Right.
Now these guys are getting used to a video call, or they understand the complexity. Otherwise, before, like, madam, just come, please. I cannot do this on a phone call. Just for something small, you have to go very
Right.
far, and it's not that it's annoying or something. It's just that they can make themselves better, and it will help them also in the other work they do. But
Right.
somehow this lockdown has forced everybody to be more digital, and for India it is more futuristic,
Yes.
because digital is not something that every tier person was familiar with.
True.
So this lack of flexibility is forcing people to go digital.
Yes.
Well, maybe there's something good in it,
Yeah.
you know so yeah, so I started this firm because I wanted to tap into new concepts, new ideas, and find better and less excruciating ways of having something completed. It should not occur like a chore. It should
Yes.
it should you should be enjoy the process must be enjoyable. You don't have to slog, or nobody has to put punch in hours which are not necessary, but sometimes because they're not adept,
Right.
adequate, or they haven't put in the kind of work they need to put in when they have to, because of which you have to make up for something which you hadn't done
Yeah.
you know so yeah, so it's going good. We have been like, I've really focused on the quality of what kind of stuff I'm doing,
Right.
and trying to do new things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That way you're pushing that envelope every day about what's possible.
Yes. Yes.
And then with every project you just push it and you see what else is possible. And it's nice. It's a way of discovering for yourself.
Right.
And for the team you're working in, many times they tell me, oh, but I didn't know that you could actually do so. It's a concept. I mean, we also are happy that you can actually do something like that. And you know, as
Right.
much as you resolve on paper, it's very euphoric when you're able to make it real.
Oh yeah. Oh yes.
You know,
Yeah.
so just like that teacher who's able to make like five chief ministers of his class 10 batch, and like, I know you have potential, is that's okay, but when he really the result
Does
is
that? Yeah. Right.
kind of, yeah, it helps. And because when we share it with other people, other clients who may not be as invested as the person for whom we actually did it,
Right. Yeah.
it helps the other person also understand that he can get something as good as that, or maybe sometimes even better.
Yeah.
Yeah, so all these new concepts you can get to do, your interaction with clients, the attitude you want to change, and you want to have a life which is more human as an architect, and
Right.
not just have a very sloggable. It's been good so far. There's
Right.
no manual, like I said. All the
Yes.
people I worked with, you can't always bring everything to the table when you're doing on your own.
Absolutely.
Because even if you would ask your mentors how it was, they'll give me some story which is 40 years ago or something. It may not necessarily be,
Relevant today. Yeah.
yes, very much,
Yeah.
let alone, take direct, imply it directly, but it may not even be relevant. Yeah, for all you know, yeah. So you have to find your own way, you have to navigate. But the
Lovely.
catch is to not try something, fail, and I don't want it to become an array of unworkables,
Right.
but something which you may not achieve a lot, but you should achieve a little of something,
Mm. Mm.
and not like not achieve. So
Yes.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's going good, I guess. So we've been recognized. I have been recognized quite a few places
Right.
for having a very different alternate approach for design,
Yes.
and the use of materials. I am very intrigued about how materials can be used,
Right.
or what are the different ways you can use the same thing, because
Yeah.
materials is like, it's amazing, at the end of the day it's just the same things that's on the periodic table which you saw in your school, but when all of those come together, they form
Yeah.
different strengths, different
True.
compositions, how they look, what they feel, and most importantly how people react to it. Like sometimes they're so, they always ask me what is it made of, because I have never seen, but that's, you can sculpt it in ways which you would not have seen it. And
Yeah.
but that's what it is, right? Like
Yeah.
I said, you can take the profession in whichever way you want.
True.
It's up to you. The rule, the guidelines, the guidebook is the same. Each architect will take it, and that's, it's something very nice about the whole system or the course, is you can forward it in whichever direction you want, but you must explore. Your work must excite you, and then you will be assured that you're making something uh, which others feel valuable.
Right.
Of course, your work is valuable to you. I say no more, but when
Yes.
somebody says it's very valuable to me,
Yeah.
so you're like, okay, I have given him something of value, and
Yeah, I think that's what
yeah,
it is, right? I mean, at the end of the
yeah,
day, it's when you're putting out a product or a service, it's just
yeah,
about the client and like what he feels and
correct,
what he's getting out
yeah,
of it.
yeah,
Yeah, great. Okay. So just to sum up, what you just said pertaining to why you shifted and wanted to have your own venture. You
right.
just wanted to gain experience from, of course, a lot of architects that you admired and wanted to learn as to what they were doing and all of that. And in turn, you were trying to bring out your own voice, your own style of working, and of course, putting out work, which probably your clients wanted you to do. That gets me to the question of, of course, I assume that it's been close to 9 years since you
It's, yeah,
started.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 9 years, correct.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
could you tell the entrepreneurs who are listening to us, or who want to get onto this journey? Could you tell us to what were the challenges that you faced while putting up a venture of your own? while you were just starting off. Of course, you had the experience which you had gained from various firms and architects, but then when trying to put up your venture together, what were the challenges that you faced at that point in time?
Well, I mean, uh, I'll say from how it occurred to me was that
Yes.
I was very clear that there was nothing else left to explore.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, because in a way, this is like a one-way road.
Yeah.
Of course, there are a lot of successful people who have retracted their ways.
Yeah.
It's not like it's wrong,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but I just I just felt if I did this, I couldn't go back because I would never get this kind of freedom if I went back.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that you run the show, it's a lot of freedom and a lot of response. You can see it how you want. It can be daunting or it can be endearing.
Yeah.
It could be something that you love or you hate,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
there are different aspects of the same thing. What it is it's freedom and you don't know it.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
unknown and it's everything and you have nothing.
Yeah.
Okay, and you have to make something out of it, right?
Yes.
So that's as philosophical as it can get.
Mm-hmm.
And the real aspect is, of course, you should have substantial amount of throwback funds and something that you're not too sentimental about to hold on to, because
Mm-hmm.
it may not work also.
Right.
you know uh, it's very important that the click happens,
Yeah.
the click with the universe, not with any one person. I know some very phenomenal designers who were really good, but the time was not ready for them, and
Right.
what ideas they had, the people were not ready to accept, like the Galileo effect.
Mm-hmm.
Galileo,
Mm-hmm.
when he spoke of astronomy and the stars, and they
Yes.
just drowned him.
Yeah.
Like, you may have a very, very futuristic phenomenal idea, but people around you may not be ready for it. They may not fully understand it, and
Mm-hmm.
so you just go back into the shadow and you make it into a research paper and you put it up, and
Yeah.
someday people will acknowledge you, but you may not bask in that sunlight right now. So yes, I did think of all this. this
Right.
this was there as well.
Mm-hmm.
I did know that there are some people who appreciate my work, and I also know that everybody doesn't know about it,
Yeah.
right? And I couldn't sit and wait to gather everybody's opinion for me to make my own decision. So
True.
there's a little bit of chance you have to take,
Yeah.
and you must also understand what is it that you really need. Even when we talk about making it, or making the money you want, I mean, like, do you really want all the money in the world?
Yeah.
Yes, it would be great if you had it, but, like, do you really, 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 like,
Yeah.
if somebody says, I'll give you $1 million, do you want to get on and become somebody of your own? If you get a funder or an investor,
Right.
give you a million rupees, and then would you take the pitch?
Yeah.
Sometimes you would, and sometimes maybe you would want more sometimes. So that's the kind of thing you should have a conversation with yourself, like, what do you need? That's what you need. All the money in the world is what you want,
Mm.
right? You
Yeah.
must figure out what you need,
Yeah.
because that's the reality about pursuing what you want. Like, you
Yes.
don't want your dream, you need a job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? But you want the dream.
Yes.
So you may want everything in the world, but you may not need it. Like, I have objects in with me which I haven't even looked at it for, but I know that whenever I look at it, I really feel glad and happy. So you may want everything in the world. Like, you may want a yacht, but what are you going to do in Bombay with a yacht and it's soaring in the heat? And so I'm talking about very one-on-one conversation with yourself. Honestly, you should have it, and not clouded by what somebody is doing or who's made it, or
Yeah.
because you're going to be on your own in it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
if you feel you're not ready, you're just not ready.
Yeah.
Or if you feel it's not for you, it's not for you. you
Right.
know and so this there's nothing to be right wrong about. It's like, somebody likes tea, somebody likes coffee.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
It's really as simple as that. There is nothing like, doesn't make you any small, or it doesn't make you any big.
Right.
It's just what you are inclined towards. And I genuinely felt my hands were tied when I, at the farther end of these organizations, when I wanted to, when I really wanted to do something else, and I understood, not that, see, I have very good rapport with the organizations I've worked with. They
Mm-hmm.
would
Mm-hmm.
have, allowed it in, like, in a bat of an eyelid, they would have asked me to do it. But not because they saw potential in the ideas. They would have done it because they have faith in me. But I wanted my ideas to shine
Right.
more than me. Like, I wanted my work to speak for me.
Yes.
Uh, you know, so so I think that's the best way it should be. Your work should speak for yourself. So until I was confident, and when I was confident, and when I felt I have, there's obviously a tick list of things you would want, people you want to work with, and that's when I did. So because I was not confident about the move, so I made myself confident about what are the other moves left for me. So it's either way, it's either by choice or by elimination. But
Right.
once you choose, whatever is the reason, you should just go ahead with your choice. Sometimes reasons fade, but you should remember your choices, and you should pursue them. And it
Right.
has been challenging in a lot of ways, but I have nothing to compare it to say whether it was good or bad,
Right.
which I think in a way it's good, because uh, there's nothing to feel bad about,
Yeah.
but I usually measure, I have this yardstick,
Mm-hmm.
where I say,
Mm-hmm.
if I have a meeting with someone,
Yeah.
and if I'm able to enroll them in the choice they make, for me, that's a successful meeting. Like, at the end of it, you both should agree on something, or you should agree to disagree. And you can't be like, no, 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 you said this, I said this, I'm going. That's very
Yeah.
immature, and
Yeah.
it's not fruitful.
Yes.
And so, again, this is something that I have structured the way I work like this.
Mm.
You are free to structure the way you work in any way. You're
Right.
free to structure it based on a bunch of friends you meet up, and then you help yourself, and you help yourself grow. There are many ways to structure how your growth pattern must be.
Right.
Or you could have a mentor with whom you still continue to work when you're working on your own,
Yeah.
and you are still able to learn from what he's gathering. There are so many ways to forward yourself. So I just take baby steps, try it, and it is quite challenging. In the beginning, you don't like, for me, I didn't have a lot of work to show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, usually people, how much ever you go, like, yakata yak yap and all that, and they still want to see something substantial, because
Right.
it's a long enduring association,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So they want to know, and you want to know, first of all, are you mentally ready to take up such a long commitment,
Right.
you know? And so, in the beginning, I would take up smaller jobs, which are, I would choose, of course.
Yeah.
Both the architect and the client must freely select. It's not like you should just say yes to every client. I don't think so.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
You should be happy, and so should the client be. So you can
Yeah.
have an absolutely good meeting, and you can say at the end, you know what, I'm not going to do this. No,
True.
because
Yeah.
I don't think this is going to work out, because somehow I sometimes gauge that the client can tend to change his mind. I say, you know what, let's do it till here, and then we will see how it goes. And
Right.
at the end of the day, you have to keep your word, and you should perform what you've said. And then if you feel at some stage it may look something else, then you can renegotiate your terms and forward your association.
Right.
So first important thing is tenure, like what kind of tenure you want to work with, what's the attitude of your profession.
Right.
Some answers you should have ready made, I think. So you will do some sort of impromptu with somebody, then pose
Yes.
like a client. And I've had a lot of these, like funny sort of, you have to prep yourself in some way. It's like,
Exactly.
how much ever you have worked in an organization, you're very confident when you pick up the food because you're calling the organization's name when you're talking, and already there's a listening about it.
Right. Right.
So right now, when you're on your own, you are your own identity, right?
Yes.
You are your own brand.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
First thing they're going to say, who, where, what, and you may not have answers for all the three.
Right.
So you have to diversify, you have to see what your strengths are, and communication, these are all very good skills. And then sometimes you may do everything right and you may not land the project also. That
Yeah.
also happens.
Yeah.
And then you should not just beat yourself up, and sometimes they just may not want to work. It's
Yeah.
simple,
Yeah.
you know
Exactly.
not always culminate, and but you can learn from it. Like, what I like to do is I like to see what I missed in the conversation, which I could have caught as a red
Right.
flag, so I didn't have to waste my time so
Yeah.
much. Or sometimes you may sign up and it'll be a beautiful association, and you will have repeated clients coming in, and
Mm.
but it is a slow process.
Right.
It's not like a restaurant. If you serve food for a new customer, he's not going to put a review at the end of the meal for you, or
Mm.
he's not going to tell his friends, you know what, this meal is great. And so for somebody to talk about you, it's going to take time.
Right.
It's probably like two babies or three babies. So it's going to probably take like 12 to 18 months or something.
Yes.
So it's a very slow process.
Yeah.
And I don't know, sometimes people like I am not okay with it, because
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
I usually like to show my work, and then I tell them you should freely choose.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want you to say tomorrow, that person told me you're good, so I hired you. And you should have confidence,
Right.
and only then I like to enter into, because it's a one-on-one,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Of course, uh, you will get opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
and what opportunity means to you, that is something you should equate on your own. I
Right.
always believe bagging the project is not a big deal at all.
Mm. Mm.
It's very important to sustain it,
Yeah. Oh,
you
yes.
know, and you have to be very well aware what are the promises you're making.
Yes.
That is very important. You just can't be a yes man and not for everything. It's not sales. As a service.
True.
So you have to know what you're signing up to.
Yeah.
And this is absolutely giving you an angle from running your own show point of view. This has nothing to do with being an architect, actually.
Exactly. Yeah. Running a
Uh,
business. Yes.
yeah, being an architect. And so there are these two minds you have to switch between, on and off and on and off. And I really don't like this sort of mathematical negotiating part of the deal, but it's very, very apparently important to the client that he gets his numbers right.
Yes. Yes. True.
So yes, you have to be very good at math, very good. Like, you have to do a few, like, your phone can go off sometimes,
Yeah.
and you don't always carry a calculator.
True.
I still work with some of my associates who don't know how many zeros are there in a crore. So it yes, you have to slowly become better in basic
Yes.
math.
Yeah.
Small skills go a long way, because I have had some of my colleagues and wrong estimations because of zeros and all. They make you look, yeah, yeah, yeah. So I mean, it's like, yeah, you should have understanding of. It's very interesting. Yeah, it's not as difficult as people make it sound.
Yeah.
If you start putting milestones like some sort of a marathon, it
Yeah.
you can kind of get burnt out, I feel like.
Yeah.
Give it like some time. I usually keep, for me it's like, it used to be 3 years,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and then I switch between yearly and 3 years. So I have a structure of a yearly evaluation,
Right.
you know and I feel you should not beat yourself up every day. It's too much.
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
this thing that get up in the morning, and was your previous day fruitful? Maybe not. Maybe you just sat the previous day, you vegetated and watched movie. Quite possible.
Right.
Okay. I don't think you should beat yourself up every day.
Yes.
At least in my profession, it's not possible to produce result every day.
Yeah.
You can have like a spiritual awakening, or
Right.
you can have some metamorphical, like you can feel like a butterfly tomorrow. That is there.
Yeah.
But like, did you finish these things? Like every day it can be a little challenging. So I usually keep a window of 12 months or 36
Mm.
months.
Mm.
So you evaluate, and you evaluate very, very regimentally and
Right.
very disciplinary, and you have to take very strong actions if you feel it's not working out. Because
Yeah.
so I have that. I evaluate at every annual year. I take necessary steps to see. Documentation is very important. One thing
Mm.
I do in my practice is I document everything.
Ah, all right.
Like each and everything will be documented.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like everything,
Yeah.
everything concerned to design, even the smallest line I draw will be documented.
Ah,
It will be there. So
okay.
it helps me in my evaluation process. So at the end of the year, I am not thinking what did I do in the summer between April 08. I know what I did. I just have to open the book and see. And so
Yeah,
it's see, you have to be your own teacher also.
exactly. Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
you can't run to somebody all the time for, you have to be the Buddha for your own self.
Right.
you know
Yeah.
so sit under the speaking tree one day in a year or once in whenever, and take stock of what's happening,
Yeah.
and take necessary actions. Get better in the skills you have. Find smarter ways to do things,
Right.
not shortcuts. I
Yeah.
think so. These are all things I have been doing, I have done.
Okay.
And the other important thing is that what is the attitude of my firm, like my
Hmm.
practice, what is the attitude I'm going to have.
Correct.
So, am I a sellout?
Hmm. Hmm.
Nothing wrong in being a sellout. Everybody loves a sale.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong. But is that what? So I'm like, no, I have some time. I'd like to do some work which has value,
Right.
because it
Right.
travels much faster,
Yeah.
you know, versus versus a sale. Sale is very ad oriented. So yeah, so I picked these couple of things, and I decided to practice this way for some time.
Right. Right.
And I have done it the other way also, like listening to other people what, but then it's just, you're just too your focus is everywhere.
Hmm. Hmm.
you know it's, you can't always shift your paradigm based on what's shifting around you.
Right. Yeah.
Because they have their own vertices in which their geometry is shifting.
Hmm.
So then you center, I just centered myself, and you evaluate what your strengths are as a firm.
Yeah.
And yes, I am it is a firm, a studio run by a woman. That is not going to change, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of signing up and a not signing up because of that also.
Right.
So it comes as parcel of the whole, you signing up to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it is a situation and a condition which is not negotiable,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
You just it's something that you're going to do.
Yeah.
It is going to take a little more time than probably like your male friend who is running his organization. uh, but it'll all work out fine, I think,
Yeah.
because the one good thing is that growth is not linear.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
So just because you achieved in this annual year
Right.
something doesn't mean that by 10 years you will achieve only 10 times. So that's not true.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the growth is exponential.
Correct.
Okay. So
Yes.
you don't have to kind of beat yourself down, or you don't have to be too rigid. Or yes, what is important is if you're lazy, you should catch yourself. If you are procrastinating, you should be honest.
Yeah.
If you feel
Yeah.
it's not for you, you should really not waste your time about it. But
Yes.
if you've signed up for some time, I think you should go forward and not give up. And a lot of times, just like midlife crisis, in the middle of a couple of years, people have this thing that, no, should I not, and what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it takes time. Cauliflower, potato, tomato, it's all different. Sprouting takes time, and
Right.
no, yeah, there is. I think there's place for everybody in this world. There is a lot of place for everybody in this world, and
Right.
there is a dearth of skill,
Mm.
of practices which have value. That'll
Yeah.
never go out of fashion.
Yeah.
So we should build. You should build on it. That's what I have. That's the take I have taken. So, uh, yeah, the idea also to send my work around the world is to really see where this work of mine would be recognized, or
Right.
who are the people who value something like this,
Yes. Yeah.
and what is relevant. Or sometimes it's easy to enroll somebody into a certain vision when
Mm-hmm.
it has been realized before,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So uh, you don't have to invent the wheel all the time when you meet every new person.
Mm-hmm.
You can kind of take it from there and slowly grow it and slowly make it
Yeah.
better. And so I have chosen a path of growing things organic,
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
to slowly further it. And that has been my approach. Everybody
Great.
has a different approach.
Yes. Yeah.
So figure out a plan, kind of, deploy it for some time. And you should really believe in being minimal in yourself also, like,
Yes.
like, I would say how you live.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you chase a dream or a vision, you should be more focused on that, and try to fund that more than fund yourself.
Mm-hmm.
you know
Yes. Yeah.
make some sort of sound choices.
Right.
And I'm not saying you should live in poverty. That's not what I'm saying. But uh, it's like a baby in an incubator.
Right.
The
Yeah.
child won't be in an incubator forever.
Mm.
So once the foundation is strong, and once all your lungs are all strong, you can run a marathon, you can run anything, and you can have your wings. And
Yeah.
so when it's small, you need to nurture it, and like the small bird needs to be nurtured and needs to be taken care of. So it does help that you have some sort of reserve funds,
Right. True.
so you're not pressured to sign up for anything and everything.
Yeah.
Because the what how your initial projects go sort of sets the tone for you.
Mm.
Not that you don't get other projects, but somehow psychologically you're enrolled that this is what is working for me.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know it happens a lot. I have seen a lot of my friends who are very potential, but they feel they're not so potential
True.
because somehow they're beaten up in the initial
Yeah.
stage, and they measure themselves smaller than what they should.
Mm.
Yeah, but again, it's very different for every person. We cannot put people's struggle in certain types.
Exactly. Yeah.
Everybody's choice is different, but you should make that choice if you feel you are inclined to it. And yes, I have a lot of women architects who come to me and who say, "Is it worth it? Is it?" Of course, it'll be difficult. It is not going to be easy, and I mean.
Everyone needs to carve their own path. Yeah.
I mean, you're polishing a diamond. It's gonna take a lot of hard work, a lot of
Yes.
time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you want it to shine as much as you want it to shine, it'll take time. And it's okay sometimes. You will have people who don't have faith in you, and you will meet people who have faith in your work also.
Right.
And
Right.
slowly that will start kind of, you know, it'll kind of become like that.
Yeah.
The more work you do,
Yeah.
the kind of doubts people have will reduce,
Yes.
because your work will speak for itself,
Right.
right? So yeah, the incubation can be a little strenuous,
Mm.
and but yeah, you should have very good conviction. That is very important.
All right, just to summarize, what you said, it's more about putting yourself out there and having the vision for yourself and going with it. And of course, growing, learning, upskilling yourself on the go. And also be ready to take on what's coming your way and not shy away from it. And
Yeah, true. Yeah,
yes. So, yeah, this
but
is,
I
yes.
wouldn't say, like, like in school we say, being airheaded is like
Ah, yeah.
being too open to
Yes.
everything that's coming your way. And
Right.
no, that's not uh some kind of filter you need to have, which is
True.
based on wisdom, I think.
Yes.
Of course, be open minded,
Right.
but don't imbibe everything that's coming your way.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to see what is forwarding you, what is
Correct.
progressive and what's regressive. You
Yeah.
know, if you're going to take one step forward and two steps back,
Mm-hmm.
it won't help you. I will. So one of my clients had this his nephew.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Okay, and he was asking me if it would be viable for him to get a job.
Yeah.
So I asked him what he studied.
Yeah.
So he said he has studied a diploma in architecture.
Okay. Uh-huh.
I said that is very bizarre because you're anyway studying 3 years. Why don't you get because in diploma in architecture is a very limited course.
Right.
It's a good course, but just like any diploma, it more gives you a hands-on knowledge and very less of theory.
Yes.
You know,
Okay.
so as a weighing prospect, I was like, why not? Why didn't he do the rest of the 2 years? Because if you do a diploma in architecture,
Right.
if you want to pursue the architecture, you just cannot do the rest of the 2 years and be done with it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
only get a reduction of 1 year alone.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to come back and do the 4 more years to complete.
Right.
I said, why? Why would you? Then
Yeah.
he told me this, which really stalled me. He said it was a very in thing that time. You know, I said, what's an in thing? You know, I mean, a lot of our psychic, in a way, is welded like that. You know,
Yes.
maybe if you are someone who is provided well,
Yeah.
like if you have a good home, a stable home, a sheltered
Right.
home, uh, getting a good job or being financially stable is not one of the things that's top of your mind. Okay,
Yeah.
you are more inclined about being a good human being, studying for
Right.
education, getting enlightenment, and
Yeah.
that is your inclination. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people even today still choose because it's very trendy and it's
Yeah.
the most happening thing, just
Mm.
like an IT job.
Yeah.
Like a lot of
Yeah.
people used to pick IT jobs when I knew because it pays well. But
Right.
the part here in which what we must think is because it's trendy right now. It may
Mm.
or may not be trendy when you are ready
Yeah.
for jump into the trend which you think is trendy. You know,
Yes. Yeah.
so that's not a very wise way to choose. I feel because if you sign up for something, of course, setting up your own firm doesn't count in that because you're ready and it's an immediate choice you can make, or maybe in 1 or 2 months. But when you sign up for the course itself,
Yeah.
like what kind of education you want to do, it can be very difficult if you signed up for something because it's trendy but you don't like it at all.
Right. Yeah.
Because then it's going to be really cruel on you. Like you are
Yeah.
your own devil, like
Yes.
everything in that would be cruelty, and you would have lost a lot of years and there's no going back.
Right.
And abnormal behavior is not something that people really accept very easily. Why did you lose 2 3 years of your what really happened? And
Yeah.
so I think every profession is promising, and it's promising if you are invested into it more.
Right.
you know
Yeah.
Even the most normal kind of a profession is very very promising if you are very very invested. So yeah, so when you want to pursue something, results are important, but you should really like the journey.
Yeah. True. Yes.
How it manifests is
Yeah.
important, and please do not live from month to month. I don't think you should live from first to first. That's a terrible way to live.
Yeah.
If you are living from 1st of January to 31st of January, first, then you should not start it yet. You
Right.
should not pursue going on your own yet, because
Yeah.
please be secure first. And pursuing dream should not be a luxury, but I guess it's a competitive world. So
Yes.
you must take care of yourself first
Yeah.
and make sure that when you sign up, you have examined all aspects, and your projections may not always pan out,
Right. Yeah.
you know. So you should be willing to take what it takes. Sometimes
Yeah.
you may have to change your plans a little, or sometimes
Exactly.
there may be some deviations, or it's good to evaluate them as a 50-50 chance, like what if it doesn't work out, and
Yeah.
or I will do whatever it takes and I'll make it work out. So what if I don't have that something is a choice you have to make. That
Yes.
if
Right.
you're gonna be like, I want this big fancy car, but if my venture doesn't work out, it's fine, I'll go back for a job, then it's great. But if you start like, I don't know, my venture has to work, if I'm gonna sell my car, I'm gonna sell my car.
Yeah.
So somewhere you have to make that choice of some giving up will be there, but it will not feel like giving up if you're not so invested in that object you give up in.
Right.
You
Right.
know, giving up only pinches you if you're invested into that.
Yeah.
So make a list of things which you really not invested in, which it would be nice to have, but if it really
Yeah.
comes to that, and this much is enough, then you're ready. You can actually start off because you are equipped in every other way. You have the education,
Right.
you're already trained, you have resources, you have means. You're probably a decent architect if you want to take up practicing on your own. And
Right.
yeah, you may not immediately be like the mentor or the organization you just stepped out of,
Right.
and you may not immediately get that sort of grandeur, like you walk into a site and people are already like, oh my god, from this firm this person's come. No, they will
Uh-huh.
be like, who's this person who came into my site? And believe
Right.
me, they will also be judging you.
Yeah.
It is like in my initial years it was very difficult to my meetings used to be very bad,
Mm-hmm.
so heavy judgmental, and
Ah.
but as soon as I have a site meeting, they would start calling me, yes madam, no madam, because they see you, they are also judging you,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
They know that you're not here for time pass, you know your job, and you have skill,
Yeah.
and you begin to command respect.
Yeah.
You don't have to ask from someone,
Mm.
uh, you don't have to flash your certificate or your things to people, and
Yes.
they will know, they can see. So
Right.
you have, so it's like a lifestyle,
Mm.
you have to live that, you have to be that, and then what you're showing is enough. Like
Yeah.
if you do your job, and if you at the job, if you're all right, so that's good. So everybody has a sort of a USP, and
Yeah.
I've never had a client walk away after they've done a site meeting with me.
Right.
So
Yeah.
because they know that this person knows they have, and they feel safe,
True.
like a
Yes.
doctor and his instrument and his OT, and he's going to be like, don't
Yes.
worry. And
Yes, this person knows what needs to be done.
uh,
Yeah.
you feel, he feels safe. Then you have a really good project, because the
Mm.
best place your client can be is in your confidence.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, that's a really best place he can be, because you don't have to always keep justifying for what you're doing, why you're doing. And remember, it's a very long association,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And like some crazy stuff can happen. Like I remember this one time we took almost 8 months with selection and all that and changes. And finally, when we procured the material, it landed.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And this gentleman, my client, had just come back from a European trip, and he says, "You know what? I saw Venice, and let's just change it this to sandstone." And I'm like, "What?"
Oh gosh.
It's not my mistake that you didn't know about Venice before this. And so I discourage uh, making choices for aesthetics. You know,
Right.
you can't pick something because at face value.
Yeah.
I'm a very clear advocate of having thought and reason for your choices. Now, when he says it's in Venice, it has sandstone, I will tell him, that sandstone is not suitable for you because
Right.
I have evaluated that and I know it's not a good option. And
Yeah.
let's say it is a good option, then I must be humble and I must say I will do work on it.
Right.
So you have to pick and choose what's beneficial for the project,
Mm.
and that will only forward you,
Yeah.
you me kind of a thing. But this is something you learn through the course, and you will by the time start practicing. But it is nice in a way.
Yeah.
Okay, you have to play different roles.
True.
Like in the same meeting, you must eventually you will grow into an organization where you'll have a BD and a negotiator, and you will
Yeah.
be the core architect, and then you just have to focus on one aspect. Even then, I think it's nice to be engaged in all aspects, and you can delegate different aspects to other people, but you should have an overall view of what is happening, and it's a very engaging exercise. Okay,
Yes. Yeah.
and most certainly, if you don't enjoy it, you will not like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, because there's nothing same about it any day.
Right. Right.
So you just have to take it as it is, and it's very similar. It's just like the sailor and the voyage. So you
Yeah.
don't know when the next tide is coming, and not that a tide is bad.
Yeah.
It's like another adventure. That's all. So you just
All
have
right.
to wheel the ship according to the sea and the tide, and it's a voyage, right? And
Yes.
you're off for 18 months there also. By the time now I have I'm yeah, I've then slowly started doing projects of longer duration,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because when your client is in your confidence, it's comfortable, you
Yeah.
know. So you know that things will not change so drastically, and you
True.
don't have to rework. And because I hate negotiating over and over about fee structure and prices, and
Mm.
so I just like to do it once and let it be. So you can focus on design and
Yeah.
things that matter, because essential things are taken care of, and
Right.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, like I said, it will be uh, like training like an athlete. The first initial time will be trying,
Yes.
and it'll soon get better, and you'll start getting really good at your what is that? What is it that's they say? Uh, what is the word they say for batsmen when your form you start getting better. uh,
Yes.
your form
Yeah.
starts getting better, and
Right.
you're on top of the game, and
Yeah.
you're able to close faster, you're able to gauge better, and you
Yes.
know where the opens are, and you know where the wides are, and yeah, your form gets better actually. Yeah, that's the
Yes.
word. Yeah,
Lovely.
yeah,
Wonderful. I mean, so many
yeah,
aspects. I think you covered it all, and
yeah.
how to come up with a venture, and of course the challenges with that come with it, and how you can put across yourself, and of course sail through it, and of course
Correct.
get
Yeah,
into your form.
yeah, yeah. True.
Lovely. All right. So Pallavi, could you tell us about We Projects? I know it's a think tank
Okay.
kinds, but yeah, could you explain more about it as to what it is about?
Well, like I was saying earlier, that I feel we lack in systems.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When I say systems, it is large scale solutions is a system.
Right.
Like, for example, how do you get groceries every day?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You go out, you buy, and now we have a system. Of course,
Right.
that's like a very rudimentary way of saying a system. It's not
Mm-hmm.
really a system, but
Yeah.
whenever I have looked at design, I have seen that there is a lot of challenges at a system level,
Mm-hmm.
where it's not a norm yet.
Yeah.
So uh, I had this we projects when I was making Me Design Studio. So that's the whole Me V, So it's like
Right.
Me is the studio,
Uh-huh.
and We Projects is when we collaborate with several other disciplines that forwards design and architecture, and
Okay.
that solves urban problems and urban issues.
Mm.
So
Right.
because of uh, uh, we are able, as a designer, you're able to talk to people of different tires, economic tires, social tires,
Right.
demographic tires also.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what do you do with all that information,
Yeah.
right? It just cannot be that it can't just be that you're just meeting up and nagging about it, or you're just depressed and say, oh, we have a bad system. Most of the times that's what you do when you meet up with like-minded people. You're like, this is
Right.
not working.
Yeah.
So probably the R&D that people who are devising systems don't have,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which you are readily having because of your everyday activity, right? So V Projects was really done as a think tank, what it is. So we bring our data and a reality check from the studio,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
and we formulate solutions,
Mm.
large scale solutions, which are design specific,
Right.
which
Mm-hmm.
lack design or which lacks intelligence.
Yeah.
So we devise systems or methods or solutions which you can imbibe, so you have intelligent solutions which makes your life easy.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay, which is like a support system for the whole architectural part of it. See, again, every architect has a certain attitude to how he wants to practice. Some
Right.
people are thoroughly invested in what's the new material, and I have
Mm-hmm.
always been inclined about how you want to make the world around you better.
Yeah. Yeah.
you know so a lot of things which are taken for granted, which doesn't have to be. I'm very intrigued in making those things better.
Yes.
you know
Mm.
so uh, yeah, so work happens there because we bring in people from other disciplines.
Right.
Like sometimes uh, we have some sort of a forwarding thing which needs an electronic solution, and
Yeah.
so we collaborate with people who are from that department,
Mm.
and we find out better ways to do something. We
Right.
also do the research, we bring what we need, we investigate and find out what it is that we don't have.
Yeah.
you know uh, uh, we are a nation of a very large population, and nothing happens unless you make some dharna or you sign some sort of a petition.
Yeah.
Not because people at the administration level are ignorant, but we already have a lot of pressing issues
Mm.
which is there in their political agenda already, and
Right.
you don't need to wait for something to blow so much. And so yeah, we in the projects look at those aspects: how to
Mm.
make things better, how to devise a
Okay.
system, how to imbibe things which help you know like sometimes we even have aspects of construction, like
Right.
even so we came up with this thing where we work with a lot of new contractors.
Mm-hmm.
Actually,
Mm-hmm.
we work with a lot of new vendors. I've never said no to any new
Okay.
person who wants to sign up for our existing project.
Right.
So I just evaluate his work, and if I feel he is competent, we sign up. But what happens is that we are only like, probably, how old are we? 60 years, right? Our nation is just 60 years old. And
Mm.
take like a ballpark. So you're only looking at good, proper education from 25, 30 years,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
So, in our context, in Indian context, there are a lot of people who are very good at work, but who are not educated enough.
Right. Yeah.
Which means if you want to have them, you need a whole support system.
Mm.
And either you have the support system on your expense and have them, or you don't have them at all,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a choice you make. So after a lot of struggle and everything, I started this thing where if we have any vendor who is not competent with um, ability to read. I have worked with people who don't know how to read.
Mm.
Okay,
Yeah.
like you can give them a written script and they wouldn't read it. They'll just look at the diagrams and they'll do.
Ah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they look at the lines. That's how rudimentary. I mean, yeah, because somehow we feel. I don't know why in other countries workers have a diploma.
Right. Mm.
Carpenters, there is a school for carpentry, like a
Yeah.
university where they teach you hands-on carpentry.
Mm-hmm.
So in some way, but it takes time. I think, like I said, we are a third world country, so
Yeah.
it takes people time for them to become organized. And so how we came up with this is that we uh, we have workshops that we do
Right.
with them.
Yeah.
Okay, so we only we don't try to educate them. No,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
we are not teachers, we don't educate. So what we do is I give them I meet them and I find out, or we find out what is that they're lacking for them to contribute for this particular project.
Right.
And we give them 2 to 3 workshops
Mm.
where we make them read, understand, tell us what they understood, and prepare them for them to do their job on the
Yeah.
place there.
Yeah.
Okay. So that way, when they're actually doing the work, they know what they're doing.
Mm. Yes.
Okay. And so they're prepared.
Yeah.
And let's assume, uh, so like I said, rubber meets the road. You can design the most beautiful tire. Okay.
Mm.
But at the end of the day, the guy who drives the car is really responsible for what it is. And if he's a terrible driver, no matter how amazing the tires are, he's going to crash, right?
Yes. Yeah.
You can give the most perfect drawing, but the guy who executes, if he knows jack shit,
Right.
or
Yeah.
to say if he doesn't know his job so
Yeah.
efficiently or how it's supposed to be, you may not get the right product. So what we also do is that we are limited by who does the work.
Correct. Yeah.
So it is sometimes possible that you come up with a certain technical drawing
Mm.
and the guy doesn't have the skill to do the drawing, but he has a different type of a skill to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Then sometimes we come back to the drawing board and we make the thing according to his skill so
Mm.
that he's able to do it as per what he wants to do.
Right.
Like, for example, I sometimes have a contracting team which has a very strong fabricator. Fabricator is someone who does work in steel.
Right.
Then I slowly have to shift my output to more of metal work rather than concrete work.
Mm.
So a lot of informed choices you have to make like this.
Yeah.
And but once you decide all the aspects, I don't like to go back because it shifts the whole organized workflow.
Right.
So this is one of the things which I have done, and it's been very successful.
Okay.
You know, so we are able to work with. So we make mock-ups, and they spend time. They also understand, and then they ask us back. And then after we do these 2 workshops, or how many workshops it takes,
Yeah.
then they are very prepared on site, like
True.
they know what's going on.
Yeah.
And most importantly, we are able to keep the budget of the project same.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know, the cost doesn't escalate. You're
Mm.
getting things on time,
Right.
and you're able to open up to working with more people than whom you originally signed up for.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. And nothing is left for chance. Sometimes you have people, like when there are higher tier people, they try to push their incompetence into lower tier people because
Mm.
they are unable to. So there's a lot of accountability in place because of that.
Right. Right.
So this is a very small aspect, which it's a very small thing, but it contributes in the overall
Yes.
health of the project. So we
Yeah.
do a lot of things like putting. We had this one project where we wanted to put breathers around the trees, which is not done in India. It's done
Oh.
everywhere abroad.
Okay.
So you have this sort of around the tree. In India we concrete, or we cover the
Huh.
bottoms of the tree with
Yes.
pavers, and
Right.
so especially in Bangalore, that's why trees fall down, because it's just like a stick, right?
Huh.
Let's say there's a lot of flexibility, and if you hold it too much at the bottom, it's going to snap,
Correct. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So people just, I mean, it's assumed and said that uh, when rainy season on sets, they like to chop off trees, and they say it's for the well-being of the people. But the
Right.
problem really is, a tree is an organic being, okay?
Yeah.
And it has roots, it spreads, it's going to move. So everywhere around the world, we have something called, uh, we have these metal uh, encasing around the tree,
Uh huh.
which is done in very thin metal. There's no concrete.
Right.
So the flooring comes and stops there.
Huh.
Here, what happens, we take it onto the roots, and then the roots move, and our footpaths go, start dancing. Then
Yeah.
all our senior citizens complain that the BBMP is doing bad work. The BBMP gets
Right.
fed up. Then they want to chop off the tree. They ask me when we go to sites, how do we get rid of this tree? And
Oh.
so we tell them you can build around it.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah.
Then you accommodate, and so to bring that awareness, so we started doing this sort of sizing tree catchers and the metal thing around it. So it's a
Right.
win-win actually.
Yes.
So everybody wins when you have those metal rings around so the tree breathes.
Mm.
It's done everywhere in the world. I don't know why we don't do it here.
Right.
Um, we should actually do it here because Deccan Plateau is black soil. It's very good for vegetation. And India
Mm.
being an agricultural nation, we actually have largest amount of vegetation
Right.
for per square size ratio to any country.
Mm.
For being a third world country who is also into a digital age, we have the largest
Yeah.
agricultural ratio. I'm not saying compared to China or Thailand or other places where, or Africa maybe, where they are still on staple. Here we have a good size of both. Okay,
Right. Yeah.
so a lot of systems like this, we do a
Mm.
lot of research and then we come up with these systems. Some are electronic oriented, some are technology oriented, some are system oriented.
Right.
So it's a way in which to make my life better actually.
Yeah.
Rather than sitting and
Absolutely.
waiting for something to show up,
Right.
if we can, if we can use the information we have and figure out a solution,
True.
and then if you have a solution you can give that solution to like the homes I do now, we do the metal ring catchers,
Yeah.
and they're very happy, you know and
Yes.
around that we put the rainwater harvesting so that water gets harvested. And like when we
Right.
do large projects also, we absolutely avoid chopping of trees, and
Right.
I don't like things to be displaced of.
Yeah.
I mean, why should always the neighbor have a tree? No, anyway, my neighbor has it. I don't also need to have it. There is one on the other side.
Oh,
What if everybody thinks like you?
I know.
Yeah. And then I have
Right.
some funny people who say, no, no, don't worry, madam. For this tree, I have planted 10 other trees. I said, if you plant 10 in Cherrapunji, it will not help. You have to plant it in this surrounding, no? Already
Exactly.
there's a lot of rainfall there. We don't need more trees there. Yeah, he'll say,
Right.
no, I built 10 in my tota. I said, where is your tota? It's not here. Yeah, it's not proportionate.
Exactly. Yeah.
So sometimes their answers are really funny. Okay, no, but it's contributing to the planet only. No? It's not the same thing.
Right.
You're getting scotched here.
Exactly.
You need it here. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yes.
Okay.
So
Yeah. So we
what was this?
projects.
Yeah. So we projects was something I started together with a lot of firms. Actually, have this system.
Right. Right.
But when I started, I didn't know any of it. It's just something I wanted to do, and
Hmm.
uh, I didn't even know what it is. I don't advocate to most. They're like, you're an architect, but what do you do? I was like, I don't know. I feel something is annoying me, and I want to give
Yeah.
some solution for it, and it's making my life difficult. And
Right.
at least I want a solution for where I am facing problems in the
Right.
work that I'm doing. And you want also to take it and do, you can take it and do it. But I can't wait for somebody to kind of brainstorm and say, no, but it was your job, so why aren't you?
Yeah.
I mean, if they're new to do it, they'll probably do it.
Yeah.
So
Very
yeah,
true.
actually, but we projects really has no definition because there
Okay.
are a lot of things we're working on which is under NDA, so I can't share.
All
This is
right.
only because there are systems I'm
Few.
able to share. We are doing some work which is very IP oriented,
All right. Okay.
and yeah, we obviously cannot share all those. I mean, you'll
Absolutely.
eventually know when it comes out, and
Right.
so it's very hard for me to put a label on it as to what it is that we do, but it's just something that we're doing to make our tomorrow better. That's it.
Lovely. Lovely.
So whatever it is, or if, because sometimes I feel like I can see the solution but I don't understand why it's not being done. So then we take the extra effort and we call the people who are professors, and we say, you know what, but is something wrong with the solution? And they're like, no, but it can be done. And we're like, okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
It's mostly like that you know
Yes. Got
So
it.
I always start by inquiring, this is what we think. Is there something available like this? They're like, no, but nothing is there. We don't have this right now. I said, then okay, we will do it. If you
Yeah.
have it, you give me, I will use it.
Yeah,
If you
exactly.
don't have it, let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Unless it's not possible, then you come back and tell me. If it is possible, if it is a little challenging, you want to try it out, do it.
Mm.
And then I ask them, well, who else you need, what other person they give me some sort of a list. I need this person, and you just figure somebody out who comes into that. and
Right.
and it's just right now, it's just that's how it's been going,
Got it.
because it's an unknown territory. You can't really have any
Yes.
specific measurable values of goals yet.
Right.
um,
Got it.
if your research yeah if your research is very very good, you could be very close to the answer that you want.
Mm.
If your research is not good, you will stray
Yeah.
because you've not covered all aspects. So
Yes.
we projects was done like that, and I needed that to tell people what it was when I
Mm.
would bring the team together and
Right.
having them work. So yeah, now we have so many challenges. So slowly we'll start looking at all of these challenges at a larger scale and do something about it.
All right.
It was done like a sort of a yin yang, so
Got it.
the
Yeah.
studio purely handled absolutely defined work, and we projects was like the peripheral things around it,
Mm.
which sometimes made these things very difficult to take on. So
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah, yeah,
All right. Okay.
yeah,
All right. So now we get an idea about the Me Design Studio and of course the We projects.
yeah,
But that's quite
yeah.
some amazing work out there.
Right.
Lovely. So okay. Just heading on to the last two questions. One is of course related to the pandemic.
Okay.
So how has the pandemic affected your work or business, both in a positive and negative way? So if you could throw us light
Uh,
on that.
I have see. It's a personal take.
Yes.
I'm very fond of having my own space because it
Yes.
really helps me think.
Right.
And in usual scenario, I block off like 3 4 days of work, and I sometimes, through the like I have this habit of documenting. So
Mm,
when something is troubling me, I usually document, and I come back and I look at it. I
right.
feel like something's here not proper, it needs to be resolved.
Yeah.
So a little bit of continuous thinking time allows me to resolve those things.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't mean like drawing, nothing like that.
Yeah.
It's something a little more pressing than just deadlines and drawing. So I'm not complaining about this pandemic, but I'm not used to being secluded for this long. Okay.
Right.
Usually my space is like 2 3 days maximum, and
Yeah.
I'm a little bit fast also. I make decisions quickly, and so I'm able to wrap
Yeah.
what is annoying me. So this has been a little tough. Like last year, it was very difficult because it's almost like a cage.
Yeah.
Um, but if I would look at it to my professional aspect, yeah, the business part is now very great. But architecture in India is always looked from a traditional approach,
Mm.
from the people who are the larger funders of the profession.
Huh.
Okay, so I'll repeat that. What I'm trying
Yeah.
to say is that it's very kind of uh, new, modern, and popular
Mm-hmm.
with the demography of people who are not actually contributing for the funding of the profession. I mean, the young people. Okay,
Ah, all right.
or I usually like to say this, that when you're riding
Yeah.
a vehicle, an automobile, you cannot ride an automobile without your rear view mirrors, and it's equally dangerous to look only at the rear view mirror.
Mm.
Okay,
Yes.
you cannot build tomorrow
Yeah.
where you're only looking at your history.
Right. Right.
But that doesn't mean you should disacknowledge history.
Mm.
Okay, so like I said, it's a vision,
Yeah.
right? There should be a vision. That vision should have a reason, it should have
Mm.
a logic, it should have the future of the people for whom you're making the vision. Their
Yes.
future must be invested,
Yeah.
right? But what do we do? the guys who are funding a large part of this profession are still grounded in some things where they're not looking at vision, they're looking at maybe some sort of dynastial importance, or they feel like if we edge to modern we may lose our ethnicity or we may lose
Mm.
our culture. Or I'm not saying it's a wrong thing,
Right.
but who are you building it for?
Yeah.
Right, what do they want, or rather which direction would you want them to go?
Mm.
you know so a lot of things has to be made, uh, a lot of thinking has to actually happen. And I'm not saying anything is good, bad, or right, wrong. I'm
Mm.
saying that I don't see the reason for a certain choice.
Yeah.
I don't see a long term reason for it.
Mm.
I don't see a long term justification for it.
Right.
And uh, simply because my forefather did it, so I want to do, cannot be the only reason to govern it. It's a very important reason. It gives you an identity, but is that the identity you would want to take tomorrow? Like, for example,
Mm.
what if your forefather also did the same thing?
Yeah.
And what if his forefather, we would still be in huts,
Mm.
okay, or
Exactly.
we would be in caves,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of what are you bringing? An ideal way to bring is values and
Mm.
not outlook. You
Right.
know, your values that make you must be grounded,
Mm.
but your outlook must allow you to reach forward.
Yeah.
Because your outlook gives you more avenues and openings,
Mm.
and your values make the foundation. So why I'm saying this, because a large section of the work that is invested in architecture or invested in this profession, it's being funded where things are still a little backward. you know
Right.
there's still a traditional approach.
Mm.
So as architects, when we ask people or ask my team, and when I tell my workers, you know what, I'll give you a break. Just go learn English and come. They are not interested. I tell them, you can learn it in 30 days. You are so smart. You are able to. Madam, I managed so long. Why I need now? It's
Yeah.
fine. And so there's a lot of traditional way of doing things, and they
Mm.
just want to do it because it's working.
Correct.
So this forced environment is making things more digital.
Mm.
So I am
Yeah.
seeing in my experience that a lot of people where uh, digital world is not present to them, it's
Mm.
opening up for them, you know.
Right.
And anything towards future, even if it is a little forced, it's good to open your mind.
Yeah.
So I don't see it like a bad thing when it's concerned to my profession.
Yes.
But in a way, going totally off geography is not good also, because it
Right.
reduces accountability.
Yeah.
When you don't have physical presence, people lose accountability. It's very
Exactly.
easy to hide behind a screen and
True.
not be accountable,
Yeah.
or be constrained with reasons. Be reasonable.
Mm.
Reasonable is not a very nice word. you know it's used in a very humanitarian way, but
Right.
being reasonable can also mean that you are just always surrounded by reasons.
Mm.
Sometimes you may have to go beyond reason. So I have actually seen the good and the bad. Like, a lot of my on-site work, it's getting better because they're opening up to the digital world. They're making effort to read drawings. They understand that we're not going to be there,
Yeah.
and they don't find it odd anymore when I tell them you will only get these many citations, or that's it. They're
Mm.
like, yeah, yeah, I can understand, and it's difficult. So it's a good thing.
Right.
I think the reason is not great, of course,
Mm.
by this confinement is
Yeah.
not good, but uh, it's good if you can make use of that for something that will better our lives. you know
True.
like, if people are going to get better, if they're going to read news more, if they're going to
Mm.
take their environment seriously, if they're going to become more hygienic. My god, I was so happy that you don't have to scorn at someone who spits on the road. People
Yeah.
still do it.
Yeah.
And uh, it's good that people are getting more hygienic, and so I'm hoping that they will bring this into their homes,
True.
And I'm hoping that people like, I sometimes when we give good size, they're like, no, no, we don't need so much big, and we don't. I said, you need it, believe me. You need this is how you're supposed to live, you
Yeah.
know. I mean, you're so used to adjusting, you don't understand. There is basic, there is adjust, basic, and lavish. Okay, you should have basic amenities. We're mostly adjusting, and so I am seeing a lot. I have not seen this much change in such short periods of time.
Right. Yeah.
Like so much shift I have not seen, especially when I have not done anything about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Right.
I'm in a way happy that they're not complaining, and they're actually wanting to learn. They're
Lovely.
like, can you show me how this works? And I want to know, like, can you install this? And we would want to know. And, you know, of course, I have nothing to complain about my engineers, contractors. They're all up to date, and they're all
Right.
aware and all that.
Right.
And of course, the other thing also is that I'm archiving a lot of my old work.
Mm.
I have so much of time, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
a lot of the work I was not able to archive because we didn't have this much of a platform to share
Right.
and to document in a certain way.
Mm.
So I'm sort of digitalizing all that,
Oh,
documenting it, and
nice.
making a better inventory,
Right.
um, and revisiting a lot of ideas which were good, which were more
Mm.
pertinent. So yeah, I think it's like a remote scholar. You just have to kind of use the time to
Yes.
be in a very non grounded. There's nothing realistically can measure the growth of somebody in this period.
Oh, yes.
But believe me, everybody has become wise.
True. True.
You know,
Yeah.
you can't measure it, but when you see people, when you meet, this sort of this after storm quietness,
Yeah.
which means that the person has gained wisdom. You
Yes.
know, yeah,
Yeah.
they really sound more wise. And I mean, there are many ways. I'm glad they didn't turn senile, they didn't go mad, and people have taken the other approach of, investigating in themselves and sort of
Yeah.
inward thinking, and they all have evaluated their lives and where they stand, what they want to do.
That's
Lot of people are asking us farmhouses, and if I'm anyway in
oh.
my house, I might as well go somewhere far and live. And yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm getting a lot of retirement requests and early retirement plans, and it's like a reality check. People are like, "What am I doing with my life?"
Right.
It's, it's this forced pause that has come
Yeah. Yeah.
into existence. This, of course, is see, like, again, I said in my profession, I meet a lot of people
Mm.
uh, who are going to fund their lives, right? I'm not talking about, the people I meet in my demographic are not people as posing my clients. They're not people who are under 30 easily, never,
Right.
unless
Yeah.
it's like a small things they want to do.
Yeah.
But um, as fellow architects, it's very difficult. They're all panicking, and they don't know what future lies for them,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
they don't know what's going to happen
Right.
with colleges shut down.
Yeah.
Remote learning is just not something that is possible.
Mm.
You need one-on-one learning, and
Right.
so colleges have taken a lot of beating, and I don't know actually what will really happen. What kind of actually uh, it's like because how would you feel if you send somebody at the border if he was not trained to save himself?
Yeah.
So um, rather than, I think there's a lot of conversation on television about schools exams, and
Mm.
I always wonder, that's all fine, but what are they going to do when they get the job? They will not know what to do with it.
Exactly. That
I
hands-on
mean,
experience. Yeah.
they won't have the knowledge.
Yeah.
And Like when you are studying, you feel like the exam is really the end of the world, and you feel like this huge amount of opportunities lying in front of you, and then
Mm,
I just need to get through this bit, this exam. But you will realize much later that those numbers are not guiding factors.
right. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
really need to have the knowledge, and if there's no interaction, if there's no college, there's no knowledge.
Yeah.
You can't learn these professions and correspondence and communication.
Mm,
It's not a master's. See, the whole thing of an master's is because in bachelor's, by the time people try and do masters, they are anyway committed for their lives. Okay, they're not in school. You don't need your dad calling you every day. Did you do your homework? Have you studied? You're going to spend another 20-30 lakh on your education. You better be serious about it.
yes. Yeah.
So correspondence is possible at that level because you are committed on your own.
Right. Yeah.
You're driven. You're
Yes.
not driven for plus one and plus two. Okay. You're not driven when you're 20, 21. You're not driven. You're frustrated. You're like, by the end, you're going to be like, look, I have this degree. Give me a goddamn job. You are more like that. And you
Right.
get a little wiser after 5, 6 years. You're like, maybe I really don't have that much skill. That's why I'm not getting job. I may want to up my skill. That's the
Yeah.
conversation you will have after 5, 6 years,
Mm,
after you got your degree. Self-evaluation begins. So I'm a little concerned about, like, I get a lot of
current.
trainee applications.
Right.
I'm not able to take trainees because we don't know if we will get into a physical environment and how soon
Uh-huh.
it will be.
Right.
And I don't know. It's all very new.
Yeah. Yeah.
And nobody is to be punished, and it's nobody's fault really.
Mm,
So we are all equally grappling with the situation, and we're just taking it as it comes. Yeah,
right. Right.
and trying out different things and seeing where we go. That's the only way because we don't know what's going to
I
happen.
know it's so
Yeah,
very uncertain and yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it is. Career shift is a very, very big deal.
Yes.
And I guess, you only have that many years also.
Mm,
For you to be relevant,
yeah.
you
Yes.
only have that many years for you to be relevant.
Correct.
Of course, to live your dream, to do your thing, you have your whole life, but you
Yeah.
only get that small window to be relevant. So I would say you should, yeah, you should take a chance. Yeah, I think uh, you will, as you grow older, you would want to feel more secure, and your chances of taking chance is much less.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Yeah, so maybe you just fatigue and you're like, oh, what the to work, but that relevance period, right?
Yes.
So you should really live like it's a dish and you're eating it, and
Yeah,
you know,
live in the
you,
moment.
you,
Yeah.
yeah, you should want to do, yeah, you should take a chance because, like I said, no, eventually that's the time when you feel you're ready, you can take a leap. Of course, all that checklist and all, you should sort of,
Yes.
make
Right.
sure I won't say like, take a leap out of thin air and everything like that. So career shift is a very big deal. I also did it when, like, there was this huge number of projects which suddenly culminated at
Mm,
one point of time.
right.
I don't know, like a domino, all
Yeah.
my 14, 15 projects suddenly ended more or less the same time. And I said, if not, I would have to, try it after another 6, 7 years.
Yeah.
And I thought it would be too late, or
Mm,
I would not feel the same enthusiasm. And so I said, I want to try this.
yeah.
And, so I just tried it actually, because there's no you can read how much ever, stay hungry, stay foolish, and all those things, but um, yeah, your journey is your journey.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's what it is at the end of the day. I think we just have to take the chances and yeah, I think being relevant and of course, I think doing what was needed at that point in time. I think,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, that's what
yeah.
it is.
Yeah,
Right.
just shut off the noise and not worry too much of opinions. I
Yes.
think, yeah, that's like even when I made V projects, I didn't tell it to a lot of people in the beginning
Yeah.
because the whole idea was so amorphous.
Right.
It was R&D, and
True.
you know, for you to tell somebody, you're doing this kind of work, and you can't. It's not like architecture, right? I didn't study
Yeah.
for so many years, and I just announced it would be okay. And
Mm.
half of my clients didn't even care. They're like, "Oh, I thought you were working for some." Okay, you're not, but that doesn't matter. You're anyway coming. You're sending me drawings. It's fine. Some of my clients didn't even know that.
Yeah.
I had gone solo on my own, and they were
Right.
like, "Really? Oh, okay. Why don't you send me some business cards?" And
Ah.
somebody asked me to.
Okay.
It was. They were like, "Okay, what's the big deal? You were working yesterday, you're working today also. I mean, your attitude is the same. It's not
Yeah.
like you're changed or so. It's not that sort of a progression, no." So, like, if you set up your own venture, let's imagine now you have a phrase called startup,
True.
right?
True.
It
Yeah.
wasn't always there.
Yeah.
I think they used to call you struggler before. What are you doing? I'm struggling. I'm a struggler. I'm setting up my new business.
Right.
Oh, new. Now there's a lot of emphasis to startup because
Yes.
startup is very enticing because there's a chance that you'll be funded.
Yeah.
Startup is a very respectable thing to say now, and
Right.
yeah, I've seen people. Oh God, such funny people. Like sometimes we have vendors and we ask them how long you're working. So 7 8 years, 7 years or 8 years, 7 8 years. So
Right.
they need work to get experience, and people don't want to give them work unless they have experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially the class which doesn't have education, they have to you know work for some time without telling anybody what they're doing,
Yeah. Yeah.
and only then be able to say for you to be relevant in what you're saying.
True.
No, otherwise they're gonna be like, "What is this?" Like if you want to be a driver, but you're still learning to drive.
Yeah.
Oh, you're a driver. I am learning to drive, but I'm a driver. You are not a driver.
Right.
Yeah, so it's a lot like that, especially things which come uh, like as a passion or from your dream. It's very difficult to tell somebody and
Yeah.
justify someone about something that makes sense. It's
Right.
very difficult.
Especially during this time, of course, we're talking about the pandemic, so well-being is of the utmost importance. So what
Okay,
is your well-being routine like, and what do you indulge in apart from work?
there's no issue of well-being, yeah, because I think
Right.
for 5 years, there's a lot of putting down in the curriculum. I think the first year I was like totally depressed. I was like, really, my work, I got redo, like seriously, like
Oh.
something wrong with you, like what's wrong with me? And
Right.
no, this is sort of a lot of beating up has happened thoroughly in the 5 years.
Yeah.
I think I'm able to lift myself up by now. So
All
you're
right.
just thoroughly trained to pick yourself up and
Mm.
to really distinguish between what's happening to you is not who you are.
Yeah.
Okay, it
Right.
doesn't define who you are.
Right.
It's just a measure of how you're handling something. That's it.
Yes.
And that is not a fixed thing. That is not you.
Yeah.
If you don't like how it's going, you can change it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so to arrive at that place to distinguish, it took me a lot of time, but eventually, yeah. So redo is just because I have not done it well. It doesn't mean I'm a terrible person.
Of course.
It's not a
Yeah.
reflection of what kind of an architect I am. No.
True.
Okay. So if pandemic is not happening, it's nothing to do with me. Okay. It's a phenomena. It's not my manifestation. I haven't made it.
Right.
I am not the cause of the failures that's happening around me. Yeah. So if you say that 3 4 times to yourself, you'll be fine.
Wow, amazing.
Okay.
Right.
So that kind of clarity, it takes some time to come.
Mhm.
And once you get it, you're able to distinguish between reality and the whole fact that I can, if I want to change what's happening to me tomorrow, gives you a lot of freedom. Like, if it's not working, so I'm going to change something from my end. I cannot change the other person. I
Right.
can't. I
Right.
can't change my environment. So where should I begin? I should begin from myself.
Yeah.
Right? So you can work on yourself and make things around you better. Once you are, the whole thing of helplessness is because you don't see an avenue. So you are like
Yeah.
helpless. So first thing is to empower yourself and say that something I can do for
Mm.
myself.
Mm.
First, first you be well, and then you can take care of others, right?
Absolutely.
First you
Yeah.
have to, the only
Right.
person you can help society is by helping yourself first. You are also society. Okay, so
Absolutely.
first empower yourself and help yourself. So yeah, that is but yes, this there's a lot of uh, personality trail issues which you can auto, like being agitated, or you can't do anything with it because you're accustomed to a certain lifestyle
Right.
and you're forced to live in a certain way but perform the same way. So there's this sort of um, what should I say? This some sort of mental turbulence,
Yeah.
because you can't perform in a certain way when you're so attuned to be in a certain environment.
Mm.
Like, see, I like to work in my studio. I don't like working at home.
Right.
No, I don't like noisy neighbors, and you can't think, you can't focus, concentrate,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
but this is how this is home. You want to know, and then you wake up, you say, "What happened, auntie? Somebody was screaming." What
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
That is small things. Is very Indian of us to, do that and have close neighbors
Right.
and
Exactly.
greet your neighbors, but it's not a very nice work environment to be in. Okay, and like I remember. I had so much load shedding. I called Bescom. I said, "What is the matter with you guys?" I said, "What is this, madam? Suddenly, all of you people want to work from home. All our high load is going to commercial areas and MG Road. Now, from where, just for pandemic, we will shift all the power." Okay,
Oh.
you guys have issues too. Okay, I am so sorry. You should people also should understand. No,
Right.
everybody is working from home. Everybody is working from where we will provide so much power. So load shedding is happening. Okay.
Right.
Your comms apps off, your net is not good, and
Yeah.
because
Lots of
your
things.
structure is not designed for you to do so much work from here.
Right.
Your power is domestic, it's not commercial, and all the place where it's commercial areas are all shut.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
So there's a lot of, I mean, these things even we don't think, no. Like, you're supposed to provide, you're not providing. And I have never called Bescom after that. I feel very, very sorry for them. I'm like, no, no, you guys really have problem. I'm so happy you're at least giving me electricity.
I know. Oh my
And
gosh.
Madam, use little less also, okay? Every room you want to put.
Right. Yeah, I
No,
think
she
it's
took like 10-15 minutes to tell me this. She like, see, madam, before all you people are going to offices, right? And 10 to 5, you're not using. Now, full day, everybody is using. All the rooms are occupied. All the power is there. Of course, load shedding will happen.
wow. Right, so many
Uh,
things to learn from the pandemic, and of course, it's made us wiser in all
yeah,
aspects.
yeah, yeah. True. So, yeah, like you should separate yourself from your situation.
Yeah.
You'll start feeling better soon. What was the other thing? Well-being routine.
Yes, anything that you have, yoga or workout or
No,
anything.
I'm forced to eat healthy because I'm at home. So I'm just eating clean food.
Lovely.
Yeah, and just gardening, indulging
Ah,
in
nice.
growing plants and stuff like that. Also, it's a nice time to learn new skills
True.
or to read about new skills, and and like I said, I was investing in a lot of ways to formalize methods, to make the process smooth. So we're just reorganizing that and
Right.
archiving that. So that is also nice.
Yeah.
For me, it's no different. I like what I do, so as long as I'm designing every day, I'm usually feeling pretty well.
That's good.
So I like doing the design part of the thing, and sometimes it's a little annoying because I'm unable to meet the client one on one and you
Right.
know
Yeah.
meet, discuss. And I hate telephones.
Yeah.
It's not a good medium to, I don't know, old school maybe.
Yeah, build
So
that rapport and have that interaction,
yeah,
and it's more easier
yeah,
that
yeah,
way rather than, yeah, I
correct.
know,
Yeah.
it's being virtual.
You can't check comfort and all,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
but I don't know. Maybe, of course, there is something promising in it. It's See, I've always had this complaint that this whole it's a very important aspect of planning where you say if you see a lot of well developed countries like New
Mm,
York and Manhattan,
mm,
uh, there's a business district and then there is a sleeping suburbs.
mm.
Okay,
Right.
this is
Yeah.
a phenomena that happens in every cosmopolitan country,
Right.
every
Yeah.
cosmopolitan city. No
City.
country is
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
cosmopolitan city. So there is a trade hub and then there is a superficial hub.
Right.
Okay, so it is so stupid that everybody leaves from the circumference at 9 o'clock and they reach the center
Yeah.
and then they just go back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the number of hours it's vacant there and it's engaged here and then it's vacant here and it's engaged there.
True.
And if you have a country like China where infrastructure is really really good, if
Mm,
you want you can read up like cities like Beijing and Shanghai, the infrastructure is designed for the next 80 years.
mm.
Like
Yeah.
here we are a little back leg. They are forward by 80 years. They don't have or if you look at maybe apparently in America, alternate fuel like a storage bank or that is more expensive than direct electricity.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, versus here in India, our solar panels and all, it actually helps us save electricity.
Mm.
There they have it in surplus, so
Yeah.
for them it's cheaper to tap in directly rather than save it into a UPS. And so everybody's social economical structure is different. So
True.
here the problem we have is that we are like a mini one of these metropolitan cities. So everybody goes to these work cores and everybody comes back, and a lot of traffic is only because the whole premise of peak hour is that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Everybody's going on place. Everybody's going on. Rush
Right.
hour, peak
Rush
hour
hour.
is,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, why don't you just like, there's nothing wrong really to, of course, now in larger organizations,
Right.
you have smaller suburb clusters. Is That's the reason a lot of IT companies have homes in and around
True.
their neighborhood, and it is happening.
Yeah.
It's not like it's not happening. There's, like I said, there's a pros and cons of it. So many things like this. I mean, it would have been nice if we chose it rather than it thrusted upon us in a forcible way.
Right.
Like apparently Twitter has made it official that it's
Mm-hmm.
going to operate work from home itself, right? They have
Oh.
totally dissolved their physical
Organize
office
physical offices.
because,
Right.
because they're like, we are online, so
Yeah.
why do we need a physical
True.
office?
True.
So
Yeah.
conscious moves like that, it's more respectable if you choose to make it rather than you're forced. It's very barbaric when a pandemic has to force you to be more wise.
Right.
I go back to what I was talking about, how intelligent a society is.
Mm.
Like you are intelligent. Like if somebody would look at us, the first thing they would think is internet, smart city. And so they're like, oh, they were all geeks. And
Yeah.
they're just so invested into these things. That's it. It's just those two lines, about architecture and society and history, what it makes.
Right.
So it's a reflection. We are so busy judging everything and everybody, but uh, we will also be judged tomorrow
Mm. Yeah.
based on our choices and our moves we make.
Exactly.
And we
Yeah.
will always be that civilization who hunted whales and who made many of organisms disappear, and you know, yeah, and that they needed a pandemic to awaken themselves.
I
Like,
know. Yeah.
if you know Bangalore history, there was cholera.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, Bangalore was one of the first Indian cities to get electricity.
Mm.
I think it was 1919. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So we were one of the first cities to get electricity and stormwater drain.
Oh, all right.
Okay. Yeah, it was so unheard of.
Mm.
And if you see the town hall and southern part of Bangalore, which is the original, like
Right.
the market from where the
Yeah.
origin happened, and the cantonment.
Yes.
So they were forced to come up with box drains and electricities because there was
Mm.
a very bad cholera, no, pandemic.
Yeah.
They were forced to maintain hygiene
True.
because it was spreading so badly.
Mm.
So what did we learn in 100 years?
Yeah.
So I think it's also about how we project ourselves, and like if we had maintained hygiene, and if we maintain, I mean, social distance, 5 feet is not social distance. 5 feet is what you really need to give between people in public areas anyway.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, that is not social distance, that's a respectable distance.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I was very happy when they said social distance. I was like, very good. Mugging won't happen, molestation won't happen, groping won't
Yeah.
happen. I mean, you're at arm's length, you're safe,
True.
you know?
True.
So,
Exactly. Yeah.
this is actually how much distance you should give when you're in a public place anyway. You're not meant to stand next to each other. And I mean, it's stupid, right? Overcrowding.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that's how you are with people whom you know at home or with friends, or when you're in public you maintain distance.
Yes. True.
But we have to learn this the difficult way. And I mean, really, I think theft dropped like half, chain snatching stopped, and so much of what do you call that, social crime
Yeah.
really came down,
True. True.
which happens because of crowded areas,
Exactly.
pickpocketing and
Yeah.
yeah. I think the only time they reported crime again is when ATMs got opened up and people were pulling out money when they came out of ATM
Right.
cash outs.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's about it. Otherwise, I didn't read. I don't know if anything happened or if police stations got any reports, but I think it's drastically reduced.
Yeah.
You're not even on the road. How is somebody going to
Exactly.
thieve you or pickpocket you?
Good
But
things. Yeah.
yeah, a lot of things we must learn, especially things like hygiene,
Yes.
maintaining physical distance
True.
in public places, giving people their space.
Yeah.
This, I think, we should carry on even when there's no pandemic. This whole thing of rushing in, and you also feel a little relieved when you're, otherwise you feel like a tourist in your own city. You're holding things safe,
Right.
and you're holding on bags, and you're scared somebody will mug you. I don't know. Do you use public transport? Have you used buses? Like when I was in college and all, you're
Oh
walking like you're some
yeah.
bodyguard or
Yeah.
something. You're holding everything close to you.
Oh yes. Been there.
Yeah, yeah. And God forbidden, if you got mugged, it is your fault. Okay, you didn't keep your wallet safely, properly.
True. You were not
Why did
aware.
you
You were
open it
not
in the
alert.
bus?
Yes.
Why did you open it in the bus? You should make your loose change before you, you know.
Hop onto the bus. Alight the bus.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah. So
Yes.
it's
Oh,
not your
good.
fault, actually. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So some good things are there, some
Yeah.
bad things are there, and some of these things I think it should continue, especially hygiene,
Right.
keeping your city clean,
Yeah.
and sanitizing your hands, and hygiene in restaurants. These food vendors wearing head caps,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
really eating clean food, and this can be taking care of your health,
Yes.
not ignoring it.
And the entire well-being. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I think people have become aware. It's a good thing.
Yes.
Some good
Lovely.
will happen, some bad. Yeah. But see, except for human beings, every other creature on this planet has only gained.
Yeah.
Our ozone has come back, our seas are cleaner and oceans are cleaner,
Yeah.
oxygen is back, and yeah,
Yes. A lot of good things. Yeah. That's
yeah,
lovely. All
correct,
right.
yeah.
Okay. Okay, we come to the last section, which is
Okay,
like the rapid fire. Okay.
all
You
right.
need to be quick and
Oh,
so
I'm very slow.
so
I'll try my best.
yes, so it's just about so I'm going to ask you a few questions on the personal, the professional front, and so
Okay,
you could answer to me in a word or two or a couple of sentences. So
okay,
I'll totally leave it up to you. All right. So do we
okay.
get started?
Yeah, sure.
All
How
right.
many questions?
Five.
Okay, fine. All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Fine. The first question is, what is your ikigai? What is that one thing that you would do no matter what is happening around the world? So ikigai is nothing but the reason for your being. So what is that one thing that you would do no matter what is happening around the world on any given day?
One thing I do, or like it's like a chore or an activity, or what is it like? I didn't understand.
It can be anything. So what is that one thing that you would do no on any given day? I mean, irrespective of whatever is happening around the world, what is that one thing which you always do?
I have to listen to music at least 10 minutes or
Okay.
15 minutes. I
All right.
cannot, I have a terrible day if I don't have. So I don't care what's happening. I have to, it's something I need to do.
Okay, perfect. Music it is.
Yeah, yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Any person who has inspired you, or any book which has inspired you? So you can talk of either.
Um, any person who has inspired you, any book who actually, one of the main reasons I like practicing is because I meet such people all the time.
Ah,
Okay.
lovely.
I feel you can't work for someone if you don't appreciate them.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I really, really feel all my clients are very inspiring. I only
Lovely.
like working. One of the reasons I work with them is because I look up to them, and they're all great people. They've accomplished so much, and the choices they've made. Every day is learning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it would really daunt me the day I cannot practice anymore, or for some reason I have to stop it. I
Yes.
always feel I will stop meeting these amazing people and it'll be terrible.
All right. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
All right. So the third question is, hypothetically, if you turn out to be the richest person in the world tomorrow, what would you like
Okay.
to do? Or would you continue to do what you're already doing?
Yeah, I probably do what I'm doing.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I
Wonderful.
don't see it any other way. Yeah.
Super. All
Yeah.
right.
Or maybe add a few more tricks to my hat, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't stop. I don't think I would stop what I'm doing. Yeah,
Super.
I just have too much fun in this. So, yeah.
Super. All right.
All right. Okay.
Any building or monument or structure that you wished you had designed it?
Any building monument it's so simple.
Anything.
It's the Eiffel Tower.
Oh, wow. Why?
Really,
Why? Why so?
it's such a spectacular thing, don't you think so? For the time it was built, for the feat it achieved, for
Right.
the presence it got. I mean, just go and look there. It's just stupid bare iron. It's nothing. I mean, I'll tell you this, okay? I remember. I'm sorry, it's not in your rapid, but
Uh-huh. Go on.
so there is this. You would have heard of this architect called Charles Correa, maybe from his sister. He is
Yes.
like
Yeah.
really, really like up there.
Right.
And somewhere in his 20s, he was commissioned a famous building called Gandhi Smarak Sangrahalaya, which is
Okay.
Port Porbandar, which is
Gujarat.
basically yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very famous building, and it's a memorial. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and so every time any architect goes there, they'll be like, it's so amazing. The space is so nice. It's so spiritual. It's so significant. Like when you see the setting sun, when you see, it's like poetry. Okay, nobody will come
Yeah.
back and describe it with anything else.
Right.
So I was working with this architect who is on who is probably in the same group of Korea, and
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, this is. He's like, what? What are you talking? It's just four columns and a pitched roof. And you're like, I, yeah, it is, but you can, like the way you see shifts, okay, when you remove the emancipation, and then you ask yourself, really, it is really four columns and a pitched roof. And how many times you would have seen it in your life, right?
Yeah.
You will see metro columns also, okay? Do you feel enlightened? Do you feel spiritual? What do you, it really got me thinking, okay, this electricity pole is also a column. Why is it not giving you the same sort of, you start thinking, what is it? What
Yeah.
is it?
Yeah.
What is it? It's just airspace. It's the way it's come together, right? When it came together, what is the ethos it reflects?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, like maybe 9 out of those 10 architects are just bluffing and going with the flow. But somewhere that began,
Right.
somewhere that emancipation began, and somewhere that poetry continued.
Mm.
And maybe the person who is enamoring it right now doesn't understand it.
Yeah.
But if you're in the zone, somewhere down the line, you'll get it.
Right.
So, I mean, if you really look at it, it's as basic as it can get.
Mm.
It can't get any more basic than that.
Yeah.
I mean, if I would remove like maybe one juncture or a joint, it would probably fall down.
Yeah.
So it's one of the most minimalistic pieces I have seen,
Mm.
yet it's not modern. At the same time, it is so basic, and
Right.
it's associated with something so elegant like romance and love and like life and like really like it's I don't get it, okay?
Right.
And I
Yeah.
don't know if I have in my capacity to recreate it. And funny because an engineer built it. Okay. So for me,
Yeah.
that's like a marvel. Okay. Like
Right.
even if I remove one thing from it, it loses integrity. It would probably fall down. At the same time, what level of engineering you should have had
Yeah.
to even put it up to start with,
Yes.
and it's kind of timeless. So for me, I mean, of course, there are many wonders in India, like Taj Mahal we have and all, but I
Right.
think I can make another one if I want to. I'm able to because I understand, but this I don't get it.
Wow.
You know,
All
I,
right.
I really don't get it. It looks like a high tension wire, but
Yeah.
what about it is so amazing. It's just takes my mind off. So
All right.
it just blows my mind. And yeah, so
Super. Eiffel Tower it
Yeah,
is.
that's the one. Yeah, Eiffel Tower. I just don't understand it. Whenever, like that sort of replays that thinking process, it just because I don't have an answer, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when I chance upon it some way, the same thing. I was like, what about it? Like, what about it? No, I don't
Yeah.
get it. What about it? And there's no, I don't understand it. But it's a very huge phenomena. People go crazy about it, photographs, tourism, and like
Yes.
so much about it.
True.
And there's nothing in history. It's not like our Taj Mahal where it's built of love, okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Of course it's a tomb, but it's the significance of true love. But what's really the significance of,
The
I mean,
Eiffel Tower.
for the formation of it, for the conceiving its concept.
Right.
So yeah, it's an enamor for me. It's just something that engages my mind a lot. Yeah, yeah,
Lovely. Okay.
yeah.
All right. Cool. All right. Moving on. The last question. What
Hmm.
is your definition of success?
My definition of success is when everything is happening.
Super. Yeah, simple.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it's happening. It's happening. You're successful. Ask anybody, is it happening? Not happening. No, not success. Happening. You're successful.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
So wonderfully
yeah,
said. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Super. All right. Just one last thing is So, what is that one key takeaway that you want to give the audience? It could be any last few words or a tip or a lesson to the new pruners, who want to start this entrepreneurial journey, or
Okay.
who are already, sailing on this journey but want to get on to the next level. So, what would you like to say to them? Any one key
Okay.
takeaway?
So, first of all, I am an architect, and please tell people that we exist. Okay.
Okay.
Kindly spread awareness, and you know, it's a serious profession, and I think people should respect that.
Yes.
Okay, and we need to be aware about the contribution of this profession, like any other profession. It's a huge thing to contribute for,
Right.
and it deserves the respect that we put the effort into it for making it
Yeah.
first, which is awareness of who
Right.
we are, because you need to understand who is dispensing this
Right.
advice for you, right?
Yes.
Second thing, what's the second thing?
No, any lesson or a tip that you want to give to the new pruners?
Oh, actually, starting a venture is like, I think if you are thinking of starting it, you have already thought of it for far too long anyway. Okay.
Yeah.
So probably you're just looking for a push because most things are sorted. I mean, it's just like love. If it's really occupying that much of the time and your mind, you should probably give it a go.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
if you're thinking about it so much, and if you're making an effort, if you're reading about it, if you're looking for it, if you're doing research, if you're checking on blog,
Right.
if it's taking up so much of your mind, then I think I think you should go for it, right? Because you will anyway be useless trying to do something else.
Right.
Because your mind will come back to it,
Yeah.
you know. But if you have chanced upon this just now, then I think you should think more until your brain goes completely useless and you're incapacitated to think anything else. And
Right.
then you know you're ready, really, because everything happens in your mind,
Yeah.
and you should put your bucks where your mind is, you know. So if it's on your mind, if it's on your mind a lot,
Yeah.
if it is on your mind a lot, that much that you have to tell yourself to bring you back to what you're doing,
Yeah.
then you've already drifted. Okay.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then there's no point. Like, in school we say, right? Mentally absent, physically present.
Yeah. Very much
You're
heard of that
mentally
in school.
gone. No, they tell you your mind is in field, go to field. Okay. Why you're sitting in class.
Yes.
So if
Yeah.
you're mentally sailed away, you should just physically also sail away. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, even if you're writing down in a book saying I want to devote this much of time for it,
Mhm.
and you're working, but if you're prompt in devoting time and doing research or chancing upon seeing your videos,
Right.
then it means you are putting some steps and taking some effort. Sometimes you can be a very disciplined, regimental person in your mind,
Mm.
so you're not like a free bird, you don't let yourself wave out. So taking a cue from your own behavior, if you are making genuine notes and if you are
Right.
considering, then trust yourself, you're obviously considering something that should be taken seriously.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So depending on which stage
Yeah.
the your listener is in, it is for them. Yeah.
Super.
But see, a job is super and great. Okay, I am definitely not against it. Okay.
Yeah.
If I didn't have a dreaming mind, I would do a job. Yeah,
Lovely.
it's really great. It's great. There's nothing wrong in a job.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, a job is like great.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, you're a team player. You're contributing. But it's just that sometimes you feel you can contribute more than what you're assigned for. And
Yes.
then you slowly escalate, and then you realize that, you know what, I'm putting the same effort as my boss. So
Yeah.
then you're like, oh, okay, so why am I still working? And I
Right.
should maybe take a chance on my own. That's usually the thought process
True.
of
True.
how it works. Like
Absolutely.
if you have an encouraging work environment, you will be encouraged,
Yeah.
and you'll move into being a partner of the same firm.
Right.
If you have a discouraging environment, it's probably going to be like, I'm your boss, just do what you're told.
Mm.
And then you know what you want to do.
You want to head out
But
and start your own. Yeah.
yeah, so but definitely, if you're thinking about it, it means in some way you're ready,
Yep.
and there is no rule book for really what happens on the field. You have to write your own rules. There's no
Right.
team, there's just you also. You have to be the center man, the front guy, the back guy, the
Everything. All the roles.
goalkeeper, everything.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
All right.
but it's great. Yeah, if only like it's great. But
Yes.
at least I am happy.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Lovely. Wonderful. All right. Last thing, how can anyone
Yeah.
reach out to you?
Email.
Okay. Could you tell it out for the listeners?
There's an official mail I have given you, right? mearchitect.080@gmail.com.
All
The
right.
best way to reach me is to please write me. Do not telephone me. Then you will
Okay.
feel I'm rude because I may not pick up. So,
All right.
yeah, you can write to me. That's the best way. And if you have my number and if you have to reach me, please text me.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I think that's the best way.
Great.
And of course,
Perfect.
we have social media. I
Yes.
think I have a studio presence on social media. You can ping. You can, yeah, I'm reachable in many places,
And it goes by
actually.
the name ME Design Studio.
Yeah, medesignstudio.in is Instagram. Yeah, I don't have a Twitter account. I'm not very good in impromptu
Tweeting.
opinions, especially under 180 words. 180 what syllables is it? Words,
180 characters.
characters. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, yeah, difficult. Oh, very difficult.
Right. Okay. So
Yeah,
Instagram
yeah,
and Facebook as well, I guess.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's an office account on the Facebook. LinkedIn, professional. You can
Right.
LinkedIn.
Right.
That's also good.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's the best way.
Great. So I shall,
Yeah,
leave these links in the episode description.
yeah, yeah.
And Pallavi, thank you so much for being out
You're
here
most
today.
welcome. Yeah.
And
We've uh, we've also partnered. There is one organization we working on in the pandemic.
uh-huh.
So they have been promoting people to learn offline.
All
Okay,
right. Okay.
not. Mm, I think they are all sort of for people who are aspiring into what kind of careers they want to be in.
Mm-hmm.
So we've put up some shorthand courses there,
Okay.
like if it is somebody who wants to see what is the process we do in the studio,
Oh, all
like
right.
what it takes, what is the, like if there are architects who want to go on their own and they don't understand what it takes from A to B to C and all that.
Yeah.
So we have put up educational content there,
Mm,
so they'll really understand how much, because there's a lot of effort you have to put. Okay,
right.
and yeah, it's there. We see when you are at work, you're probably doing a part of what the whole organization is doing,
Correct.
right? And it's not linear also, because when you're a younger firm, you will probably get paid a little lesser than a well established firm because they have infrastructure to support,
Right.
right? So
Right.
most likely you are probably doing the job and you have to do a lot more for the same type of money.
Mm,
And I don't know if it has missed your mind, but you should have taken into account of that. But in case if it's missed your mind, you will be doing a lot more work, and a lot of your time will get occupied with that. And there is let's say through the course you get present, what physical constraints you will have to realize something,
right.
because you have to put a lot of man hours, like whether it is software or systems, or what's the level of involvement you want to do.
Yeah.
Like when there used to be this very nice organization called iReboot.
Okay.
This is
Uh-huh.
before pandemic.
Right.
So I have gone to a couple of their things where we talk to students who are just passing out.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot like the leaflet with we used to get, except it used to be on paper, right? So
Okay.
this is where real people from different professions come and they give a talk,
Oh, all right.
and these guys will listen to what they have to say and they will ask them questions,
Mm,
and then they will make an informed choice about what career they want to pick.
all right.
And
Okay.
if they really thought, if it is really that,
Mm, yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
like like I have some architects who tell me, I just took architecture because I thought you can travel the world. I said, that's not architecture, that is tourism.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but I have seen architects in that thing take photos of.
Ah,
So that's no, that's tourism. Okay,
yeah,
you're
it
traveling
is.
the world if you're a tour guide or somebody, and so sometimes you can be in some sort of a misconception about what really the profession is, or what you signed up for,
Right.
and yeah. So because now we can't physically go and meet, we've done that for students and we've done that for practicing people also.
Right. Okay.
It gives them an insight into what effort I take for me to produce a certain type of work that
Mm,
has given me what I have got today.
right. Right.
Okay,
Okay.
it's not like that is the only way to do, but this is what I am doing for me to get these kind of results.
I'm
Okay,
unable to hear you.
so now, now,
Yeah, now it was
yeah.
offline on Zencaster. Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. So it just gives you a window of what I do and what are the things I do for me to get certain kind of results,
Right.
and how do I do certain way. If you're interested, they can check it out. Otherwise, if they're able to gain from this also, great. Not,
Lovely.
yeah,
All right.
yeah,
I mean, that's a wonderful initiative, and I'm sure people who are interested will reach out to you.
right.
So Pallavi, I mean, thank you so much for this amazing and insightful conversation. I think there was a whole lot of aspects that you covered of architecture and, of course, about entrepreneurship and
Right.
many things. So I'm so glad to have had this talk with you, and thank you so much. So honored to have you on my show. So thank you for
You're
your
most
time.
welcome. You're welcome. It was really nice talking to you.